Dubious ones, welcome back to the channel for some more Ultra Pro Wrestling. Today we are picking up where we left off just a little while ago on the dev insight into Ultra Pro Wrestling. Right off the big news that they had acquired the license to AKI/Aki. So we are getting some big stuff coming to Ultra Pro Wrestling. So there was a lot of stuff that was still left in the video. About half the video was actually left from where we left off. So we're going to get into it this time a little bit different, as I actually now have the ability to show you, as many of you were requesting, updates on what the status is of the game, where they're at as far as animations are concerned and gameplay and stuff. So they've actually put out a 3 hour and 10 minute long video of just straight animations of just the thousands and thousands of animations that they've handcrafted for this game. So basically all the moves from that were in No Mercy, so like all the previous Aki games prior to No Mercy, are now fully animated in the game, recreated for Ultra Pro Wrestling. So I'll have that footage for you in the background while they're doing the developer interview with Sam, the creator of the game. And of course I will be leaving with my reactions and everything as well. So I did have some of you requesting my follow-up to that video, so here it is. As we are getting ready for some new gameplay and new stuff coming from Ultra Pro Wrestling. So I thought I'd get the hype train started early with my part 2 of the Developer Insight. So let's get into it. All right. So as you can see up above, you can see animations recorded 4, 5, 6. You can see right here as it's going up the different moves. So very cool to see the amazing stuff that they have animated. You can see both the move animations as well as you get to see some of the, the taking of the animation, like the impacts and stuff like that. Obviously, some stuff might need some cleaning up and stuff like that, but it's amazing to see the progress that they have made in the thousands and thousands of moves and the hard work that these guys have done. So big shout outs to the whole team over at Ultra Pro Wrestling. As always, if you want more info on Ultra Pro Wrestling, I will leave all the links to all their socials and everything in the description down below, so you can get, as well as this actually full developer interview start to finish that you can go and check out on your own on their channel, as well as the Ultra Pro Wrestling website, their Discord, as well as their Patreon if you wanted to support the game directly, as well as some of the developers and other socials down in the description. So make sure you're always checking the description on all these videos. But without further ado, let's get into the good stuff.
So yeah,
this is where we left off.
I'm hyper focused on this game, and it's not ever wavered. You know, I think with the if it was the ICW game, where it's because it's the ICW branding and everything, it kind of feels like, although I'm doing all the work for this game, it kind of feels like it's someone else's project a little bit. But you know, Ultra Pro Wrestling, it's my baby, it's my thing. So there's no demotivation. Like, it's just, you know, full on with it. But anyway, so we eventually, so where we at? We launched the Kickstarter. That did fucking really well.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like in my head, like I think the first tier of the Kickstarter was something like 15,000. And I remember thinking, like, if I reach that, if I reach the 15,000, that's you know, we'd obviously like more. The more the better. The more money that we have, the more additional people I can hire. Yeah. But 15,000 lets me hire at least one person to sit and go through this process, recreating the animations. And again, either I could do the animations as well, and then we get through a whole ton of them, or I can have this person doing the animations, and I can focus on gameplay and everything else, because that's the other thing as well. Like, you can't start building out the gameplay without the animations. Yeah, like, it's technically possible to have like a placeholder animation of, you know, this is what he would be like if he was in the turnbuckle, and you just have an animation of someone standing there, but it's just work that you're gonna have to go back and redo, because you know, you don't know if the rotation's right, you don't know if the positioning's right, like, so it's just work that you have to double back on yourself eventually. So yeah, my thinking was, we'll come back to gameplay, and because done the Andrew Yang game, I actually had a pretty decent fighting system in place for like health management, hit detection, all that kind of stuff. So.
And so there's one guy, if you're not familiar with on X/Twitter, is Melon Bread, who's covered like the Aki games for decades now. He's basically written like the Bible, as it were, for like Ultra Pro, or not for Ultra Pro Wrestling, but for like the Aki games. Like as far as damage, like what move does how much damage to what limb system, how much a special does, just like the what forces you into critical state, just all kinds of, like, he has all the like ins and outs and stuff that you wouldn't, it would be hard for you to be able to take that, not like to figure that out yourself just from playing and testing and everything. So this game's not only going to have like all the moves from like the Aki games that we're familiar with, as you're seeing on screen now, but you're actually going to have like proper damage values and proper representation of like what those moves did in those games, like a very similar just recreation of those moves, so that so that your specials feel special, like your finishers feel like they should, and a lot of the CPU logic and stuff that went behind that. Melon Bread was very, very instrumental in being able to help provide them somewhat of like a blueprint, if it were, basing. Obviously, not everything's going to be exactly the same. This is their own game, but they want to be very, very. They want to hold very true to the Aki. Like they want to make this game seem like as if Aki had made it themselves. If they made a successor to No Mercy, this would be that game in a modern day. Like if you made a No Mercy in 2025, if it was Aki making them. Sam and the team over at Hyperfocus Games, they really want to be able to recreate that. That is kind of the vision, as if this game was made by Aki themselves. So they're trying their best to stay as true to the game as possible, and none of that would have been as possible to be to the degree it's going to be like that. I don't think personally, my opinions on it, without the help of Melon Bread, because they've mentioned it many times in the past, that he was instrumental with all his help in saving them tons of time. And figuring a lot of that stuff out, which I'm sure he'll probably elaborate on a little bit further.
So I was fully confident on the gameplay not being too much of an issue. Had I known Melon Bread and all the modders before this, I might have realised the full scope of the gameplay.
Sorry, so I got ahead of myself. So this was him, I guess, figuring these things out before he realised that Melon Bread and people out there were people out there like Melon Bread who like literally studied the ins and outs and everything in this game for years and years and years and decades even. But yeah, that was kind of a funky animation. It's so cool to see the development though. Like I know it's weird seeing without like another wrestler on the other side giving them the animation. You're seeing both sides of like the ant move animation and then the taking the animation. But there were so many people like desperate for more gameplay and seeing updates and seeing where this game has gone. And now you can see that like literally thousands and thousands, all of these animations were crafted by hand, right? Every single one of them. And I think, I don't know, I like the engine, the graphics, the way the game looks. I'm very, very excited for it. I can't wait for Ultra Pro Wrestling. Everything about it, like, just so many things. And I hope they're able to implement all the things we all want. And I know they're going to do their best to make this game incredible. So very excited for it. Anyways, we'll get back to the interview.
And just how much goes into, like, just all the various mechanics to get the balance of the game right. That was something I completely underestimated how in-depth that was, which now, thanks to Melon Bread, I'm now a lot more clued up about. But
were you surprised about like how well the Kickstarter did? Because you were saying the first tier was 15 and like...
Yeah. And the thing is, I'd actually like unintentionally... there was a slight bit of intention, but this had sort of culminated in a holiday that me and my family had booked to go to New Zealand because my wife's brother was getting married. And then I think because it sort of culminated, possibly that was the reason I decided. I can't actually remember if it was a conscious decision or not, but either way, the Kickstarter launched on the day that we were leaving. So we were literally going to the airport on the day that the Kickstarter launched. I can't actually remember if I intentionally set it on that day, which I might have done, so that I could launch it and I wouldn't have to think about it.
Yeah.
I could just launch it and then I'd be like, right, now I can, because again, it's the whole fucking hyper-focus thing. I cannot switch off. I cannot take my mind off of something. So by launching on that day, I'm then forced to. I'm forced to pull myself away from it. So we get on the plane. Whatever it is, 18 hours flight. Flying to Dubai, then to New Zealand, and I couldn't sleep on the plane. So I was completely fucking sleep deprived. And then as soon as I woke up, it felt like it was 3 days since the Kickstarter had launched. And Hazel, my partner, was saying do you want to check on it? And I was so nervous. I went no, because I'm just expecting all that's going to happen is I'm going to look at it. It'll be a few bucks here from close friends, and then I'll have to go. Okay, let me try and not think about it now, and let me try and enjoy myself.
Yeah.
And so I purposely didn't look at it, which
honestly, the fact I can't imagine what it would be like, launching a Kickstarter for, to make your dream game, creating your own game and stuff like this, something like that. I can't quite imagine exactly what he was going through, but I know if it was me going on that trip, I would not be able to not pop open my phone to take a peek at that. So much respect to Sam for being able to have that restraint to not, be checking that Kickstarter every single day on his vacation and potentially ruining his vacation if it was bad news. Obviously, we know coming out of it that it was very, blew his expectations out of the water, but we'll get into that.
Kind of led to us becoming quite good friends, so I'll explain all that. But yeah, so didn't look at it, and then again trying to think of the order of things. But eventually, I got a message from my mum, who had been, that's my mom for all the Americans, who had been keeping.
And sorry if you see some reactions on my face. I'm also just watching because I haven't watched all these thousands of animations that they've animated. So just seeing some of the impact on some of those old No Mercy moves, some of the suplex that, boom. It's sometimes, so if you see me, I get weird reactions. It's not necessarily to what he's saying. Sometimes my reactions are just going to be to the move animations as I'm watching them here.
An eye on it. And she was instructed not to tell me, where it was at, or don't tell me anything about it. And she says, she messages saying, you might have to look at it because you're getting comments from people saying that don't give them money because we've asked questions and they're not responding to us. And I was like, oh fuck! I never even thought of that. I never thought we launch a Kickstarter and then people are going to be like, hey, is your plan to do this or and if I'm just fucking ignoring them, then they're going to be like, oh well, that's not a good sign. And just well, if they ignore me, I'm ignoring them. Fuck them. I just didn't even consider that at all.
That's not something I would have thought about either. Wow, that's a very good point. Yeah, wow.
So then it was all right, okay, we'll look at it. And again, I'm thinking oh man, I hope we've raised fucking a grand. If we've got a grand, then in the first few days, that's such a good sign. And yeah, I remember Hazel kind of standing there with the phone telling me where it's at. And she's like, oh my god. And I was like, what? Good or bad? And she's like, it's good. I'm like, oh no, tell me, just tell me. And she's like, it's at 15 grand. And I'm like, are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
Just, wow.
What a moment that must have been, right? Having no idea how this Kickstarter would go and just thinking if it's at 1,000, that would be great. If it's at a couple $100, whatever it is, what it is. Hopefully people are into this or have this kind of, an interest in this game, this vision that he has. And then he sees just in the first couple of days there that it's at 15 grand. That's got to be a different feeling.
Even fucking now I'm getting emotional just thinking about that moment of that blew my mind. It's been a couple of days.
Yeah.
And I was just no fucking way. There's because again, only frame of reference for people potentially wanting a game in this, the AKI. Obviously people say oh, we want it to be like AKI. You Google what's the best wrestling game ever, a lot of websites, the first result is No Mercy or Virtual Pro Wrestling or whatever. So I do know that there is an audience out there for it, but whether or not that audience is willing to invest in a small company and all that stuff, and especially with Pro Wrestling X having people have invested in them before. In fact, we've even had comments from people who have said, I've invested in not just Pro Wrestling X, but I've invested in Kickstarter projects before. I want you guys to do well, but I can't give you any money. I've been burned too many times.
I invested in Pro Wrestling X.
Oh, fucking, well, there you go.
You know, and realising at the time all the errors that they had made up, I think everybody uses them as a warning sign now. And it's not to bash the people involved. I think they went down a path first, and a lot of people learn from that. But it's very difficult, and so your expectations going in there, and we had spoken before the Kickstarter, so I had also gone in with fingers crossed, being like, I hope this is enough, you know, and Sam comes out and we get a decent amount, but then seeing the numbers just creep up, and then after the 15 grand, it just kept going.
Yeah, and before you even get to that, just to circle back to this is where I was going to say where we ended up becoming friends. Well, obviously we'd spoken before that, but I realised then when I went on and seen all the questions that people were asking and people were like abandoning me, there was one person, and it was you, was replying to every fucking comment. I can't even remember if we had a Discord at this point or whatever, but I'd obviously said somewhere that I was like away to New Zealand. Mm-hmm. You were replying to every single person, telling them.
So, for reference, I am a Kickstarter backer for this project. Like I got into it fairly early, but I think this might have been before I actually heard about the game myself. I obviously just saw that cool trailer in the Kickstarter and hopped on board because I was huge fan of the Aki games, World Tour, Revenge, WrestleMania 2000, No Mercy. I never really played the virtual pro wrestling games because I didn't have a way to do that growing up. I didn't have like a console that could play them. But I played all the other ones, and like No Mercy being my favorite. But games that I played through high school and elementary school growing up, like it was I just had so much fun and put so many hours in these games, and no other wrestling game since No Mercy. I don't think I've ever I really enjoyed 2K14. 2K19 was okay. 2K25 is a great game for this kind of engine, but nothing really hit like the No Mercy games for me. And because I wasn't a PlayStation player, I didn't have a PlayStation growing up, like a PS2 or anything like that. The only time I played the like SmackDown games, like Here Comes the Pain, was when I go over to other friends' houses. We'd have drinks and hang out and play wrestling games. And so I played the SmackDown games that way. But for me, the No Mercy engine was always my engine, right? And when I moved over to Xbox, I again got skipped a whole generation until the 360 days before we got the SmackDown versus Raw. And at that point, I was out of high school. I wasn't really playing wrestling games as much anymore. So I basically took a break pretty much from I played Raw 1 and 2 and got burned on the Xbox. Played the other games at friends' houses a little bit, and then pretty much fell off of wrestling games up until around WWE 12 was when I really first got back into them, and then 13, 14, and so on all the way to present day. But I had a big gap in there, and I missed out on a lot of this really great SmackDown versus Raw games and SmackDown Here Comes the Pain and all that. I never owned that. So for me, like the games that I loved so much and always remembered was the Aki engine. So when I first saw that Kickstarter, saw the trailer for it, I was all on board, but I don't remember seeing all the comments and stuff like that. I was more just looking at the tiers and like hoping that they hit whatever stretch goals they could so that we got all the things that we wanted. Like a career mode, for instance, was actually one of the stretch goals that they didn't meet, but we're still going to be getting it in the game. But that was a stretch goal that they didn't even get through the Kickstarter. But either way, I wanted to support this because this was a game that, this was the kind of game I wanted to play, and I would love to see an independent wrestling game succeed. You know what I mean? Something other than 2K, because this is long. I don't know if this is long before Fight Forever. I think I heard about this game, but it was before Fight Forever came out for sure when the Kickstarter was up. But I just remember we wanted more new, different wrestling games. And I thought Fight Forever, because of the budget they had, remember, Fight Forever had a budget reportedly, again, we don't know the exact figures, but we heard it was over $10 million of a budget for all, and regardless if that money was mismanaged or not, a $10 million budget for a wrestling game built from scratch versus this game had less than 100K, right? And this game has 5 developers, you know what I mean? There's a very small team, maybe four or 5 people really working on the game on a regular basis. So super small team, super small budget. So the fact that, as you can see on screen, the fact that they've already managed to recreate these thousands of animations and all the lofty things that they're striving for If you follow the channel, you know a lot of the things that are coming with the career mode, with the creation suite, the DLC we never thought we were ever going to get. It's really incredible to see where this project's come from, how far this project's come since I first backed them on Kickstarter. So very excited to see where we're going, but we'll continue to listen to Sam and how the Kickstarters started moving along, how everything went.
Don't lose faith. Don't worry about it. If he's not replying, he's in New Zealand. He's probably in the plane. He's probably like doing this. He's probably like you were just providing cover for everyone that would potentially say, fuck this, he's not responding to me, and go away. And so I'm like, who the fuck is this Gimbles guy? Like he's just like, wow, that's
Gimbles
amazing.
is the man.
Like, you've saved my reputation, and I didn't even know that any of this shit was going on. So yeah, obviously felt fucking tremendous gratitude to you. So there you go.
It was seeing a project and all your ideas and everything, and this, because we'd spoken and knowing you just a wee tiny bit, how real you were about all this and how honest and how much belief you had in
and
this.
no one will believe any of this because we happen to fucking live we happen to live like an hour, less than an hour,
away from each other. I mean, we didn't know that when we first started speaking either.
Yeah.
See, that part is incredible because the odds that this, because I was like, how is it that Gimbles is like, he moved or relocated out? Like, how does he, if they, they met through this, how do they like live so close together? Because he's there literally in studio with him right now, doing this interview, right? So that's pretty small world, awesome, crazy coincidence.
Same with Melon Bread as well. Melon Bread is Scottish and lives like an hour away.
And then after that,
I've never met him yet, but we will, hopefully.
That's cool. I didn't know that either. That's really cool.
Yes, absolutely. No, we definitely need to meet Melonbread. And the fact is, like, that's when it started to feel like, there's a lot of wee things that are just connecting perfectly with this that are starting to fall in line that would have been, everything Melonbread's provided for this game has become essential, right? And without that, there's issues and things that are missing. That's why we're so confident right now in talking about this game being a proper AKI sequel, not just kind of like AKI.
Yeah.
Without that stuff, that doesn't become a reality. So that guy, he's done a tremendous favour to all wrestling fans.
But before I knew of Melonbread and all the work that he'd done to go in to figure out just even things like each character starts with a health value of 255. I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know anything about like
Nor did I. And if you haven't checked out Melon Bread, I'll try and remember to leave his X / Twitter like in the description for you guys below, because he's still finding secrets in like that we didn't know that's in the code of like games like Revenge, and like games where like some of them had people had special grapples assigned to them for like a running grapple that didn't get implemented in the game but still in the code, and they had these weird like muscle buster finishers. Not muscle busters, but like just create like there's just some very interesting things he's found in the code of those games. Again, 20 for in the case of Revenge, like 27, 28 years later, like it's crazy. The stuff that like Melon Bread's just been a diehard for this game, unlocking all of its secrets for decades now and still finding out new things, which is so cool, I think. So I'll try and remember to leave a link to his X in the description for you guys as well.
Conditions in which damage would affect, I think, tech damage. There's so many elements to this game that it would fucking blow your mind. I thought that when it comes to getting those values right, I'll just reverse engineer it. I'll play the game and I'll try and in the same way where I meticulously look at like the number of frames that are in an animation, I'll work out the values by reverse engineering, by playing the game, seeing how much the spirit, because the thing is, well, you don't even get to see the health, but you see the spirit meter, and maybe I can work out maybe someone kicks out of a pin if they've still got a little bit of health. I was so fucking naive as to the possibility of being able to reverse engineer. I now think that would have been impossible.
Yeah.
But
see, so thank heavens for Melon Bread. That's what I mean. Like being able to reverse engineer that beautiful engine that is the Aki engine, next to impossible without the help of people who've been studying this game and doing it themselves for decades, for like literally like over 25 years. Like that's crazy. So Melon Bread is just tip of the hat to him. Tip of the hat, sir, to all the hard work you've done for this community, because I don't think Ultra Pro Wrestling would be what it's going to be and what it is without the help of all of Melon Bread's vital information on the back end.
Yeah, the stars aligned, and Melon Bread came out with all this stuff that he'd uncovered, and I'm just like, wow, we now have a basis. We've got the base for and this, I should maybe actually just address that as well. We're talking a lot about AKI, and I imagine there will be people that say, like, stop going on about AKI, like, this is Ultra Pro Wrestling should be your own game, it should be whatever. I'll say it will be, but as a base, the base level, we want it to be a pure recreation, a pure replication, because then you can expand on it. And when you take risks and expand in certain ways, if it begins to not feel like an AKI game, you'll know. Yeah. And so you'll make decisions about being able to pull it back. And as long as you've got that base, I think we will be fine and we won't be able to go wrong. Most wrestling games that come out, like...
I 100% agree with him there. You cannot go wrong by recreating that base of No Mercy. Like, you have to think, too, with like the Switch 2 and things coming out, there are recreating, and not a lot of times not even recreating, you're just getting to play like really like an emulated version of like old N64 games. But certain games, because of licensing and everything else, like the WWF No Mercy will never, in my opinion, ever, or WrestleMania 2000 or Revenge or World Tour, like any of those games, I don't think will ever be available on like a Switch 2, like legally. Obviously, if you get an emulator, you download the ROMs, whatever that you do, that's your own thing. But I'm saying, as far as like an officially licensed, just remaster, you're never going to see of like a No Mercy, right? You're just not going to see that. So obviously Fight Forever was our closest thing to this point. But it was still very different from the Aki engine. There was a lot of similarities, yes. But there were still a lot of differences and a lot of things that worked differently. As a lot of people complained, the matches were too quick, and as soon as you hit especially your finisher, match was over. Like, the matches were too quick. Whereas in No Mercy, you could have like hour-long reversal fests where the matches just took like a really long time, were really competitive. And not everybody's necessarily going to want that, but again, there was such a huge fan base for those games that I think, especially with this graphical style that they've chosen, I think I'm a big fan. Because, you know, as far as hyper-realistic graphics, you've seen by now so many AAA studios going on and spending budgets of hundreds of millions of dollars on games like Concord. And not necessarily that was a graphical masterpiece, but just the point of having these massive budgets for these games, and certain games try, no matter how amazing they look, if the gameplay isn't fun, if the game engine itself, the core engine isn't fun, people aren't going to play it, right? So if they nailed it, they have the Aki core, like that No Mercy feel, and then over time, over years, they can fine tune that engine and add things to it, add match types to it, add career mode and creation parts to it as an ever evolving game over time, as this is his baby, this is his game. I think that's nothing but a good thing, because this is going to be the closest thing we ever get to a recreation of No Mercy, a remaster. And in this graphical style, to me, this looks great. This looks way better than what No Mercy did at the time. And I think this is a very well done recreation. You can easily recreate any real-time wrestler, like a Bret Hart, an RVD, a Steve Austin, a Roman Reigns, John Cena, whoever you like, you can do in this style and instantly recognize that that's who that character is, and you'll have their moveset, or you'll have, great spears and great stunners and everything else. And to me, like, that's so awesome. And you'll literally be able to recreate No Mercy, like, one for one as far as, like, looks. With the Create an Arena, with the Creation Suite and everything, you should be able to recreate that game like one for one with the roster and everything if you want, which I think is super cool. And that's like what they're aiming for, is that you can make this your Aki engine current day wrestling game. And I'm all about it, man. I'm all for it. Let's get back to it.
There was the TNA game. I remember all the talk of that being a spiritual successor. There was the AEW game, obviously.
The TNA game might have been good if they'd finished it, but it was sort of like 25% of a game that looked quite nice,
Yeah.
And the problem is, what you're talking about is, there's a blueprint for how you make a successful wrestling game that feels right. And if you go in blind and then just try and work that out by yourself, you're going to fail.
I think as well, like wrestling fans, I think, always speculate as to what went wrong with a video game, and your mind can't help but go towards probably the programmers.
Yeah.
Are not wrestling fans.
Yeah.
And they might be, but it's something that kind of sounds like it makes sense. Like when something just isn't right, you go, nah, these developers, even with Fight Forever, like we knew Kenny Omega was involved to a degree, and it's just easy to imagine a scenario where Kenny Omega's going into the office and telling the programmers this is what it should be like, and they're sort of going, yeah, but you don't understand, like game, like you're a wrestler, you understand wrestling, but no, the game mechanics side of things you don't understand. It can't be like that because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And there's just all this miscommunication. There's also just, I think that there's a bit of ego when it comes to like developing a game.
Yeah.
If I wanted to develop a game like Super Mario, well, obviously I'm not going to create it just like Super Mario because, well then where's my imprint on this thing? And that's my ego to a degree. Obviously, fucking wouldn't. It's not going to sell very well when people can easily just buy Super Mario, so maybe that's a bad example. But if there was a game that no longer existed that people can't download on the Nintendo Switch shop or whatever,
exactly.
If I'm trying to recreate that experience, I don't want my ego to get in the way of it being a spiritual successor, of it being what it should be, just at the base level anyway. There's a few things. I actually spoke to someone today on the Discord about the camera mechanics. We've done something with the camera which is different. Actually, not just different from AKI, different from any other wrestling game.
Yeah.
But I strongly believe that it falls in line with the principles of AKI, and I think when people see it, they'll like it. Mm-hmm. And you know what? If everyone hates it, I'll fucking I'll make it so that you can switch it off.
Yeah.
But I will take risks to a degree, and I will have my own spin on it.
Yeah.
But
see, I love that. I love the idea too to be able to toggle things on and off. Like one suggestion I would make, and I can't remember if maybe they said this would even be a possibility or not, or if this is just in my head. But I just looking at some of the animations to these moves as it is, I would potentially like the ability to maybe in the game, if the game feels a little slow, or maybe even if it feels a little bit fast, that I could maybe adjust the game speed. Not necessarily for online. Online, you want it to be synchronized, like this is what it plays like all the time, so the experience is the same. But at least for offline, when you're playing on your own, in the career mode or on your own in matches, that you could be able to maybe perhaps speed up the match speed, like the movement speed, to like a 1.5, 1.25, 1.5x, 2x, or even be able to slow it down to like a 0.9 or 0.75% speed if you wanted to slow things down or speed things up for any reason. Just in case, some of these move animations, that looked, the Hangman CDTB, that looked great. But if any of them look like a little slow to you, if you wanted to speed it up even to like a 1.1 speed or a 1.25 speed, just to have it move a little bit faster, being able to toggle things like that on or off would be really cool. I don't know the logistics on how complicated that would be to have, and you can see the stunners, mandible claws. I feel like they might have to rename some of these moves that I'm not sure about, like when it comes in the game for the creator wrestler. I'd love it if you can keep them like this. I don't know if there's anything for licensing for moves called like the mandible claw or the stunner or anything like that. Because I got to imagine there's a reason why, like in Fight Forever, they rename moves, or in WWE they rename moves. So I have to imagine you can't have it called the rock bottom. You know what I mean? Like in the game. So I wonder if that's something they've thought about as well. Either way, really excited about this game, but let's get back into the interview and leave me your feedback in the comments down below. What do you think about this game so far? What do you think just of these amazing animations that they've made so far? I think it looks pretty sweet. Just seeing No Mercy recreated in this art style. Fantastic. But let's get back to it.
As a base level, it has to be a pure recreation of AKI that's then expanded upon, and I think that's how we then get it right.
Yeah.
Because if we go in saying, we want to do it this way, as the base level, you'll never be able to pull it back and get it to where, because you won't even know if the base level is ever going to be right.
Yeah.
But whereas if you create it exactly like AKI and you play it and you test it and you have a bunch of matches, And you're like, fuck yeah, this feels just like we're playing No Mercy or Virtual Pro Wrestling. Then you've got something that you can work with.
And it's the same philosophy we'll go into making the speciality matches, be it cage matches or ladder matches or tag team matches, which is another thing that we've been speaking about. We don't want to just put things in as basic, we've added 4 characters and there you go, try and work it out. We want there to be a story of wrestling, a feeling of this game and the AKI logic behind it all, so that every time you pick a different type of match, it feels different, it feels like a new experience. There's a reason for choosing that.
Yeah, you don't want a tag team match just to be a one-on-one match with 4 players.
Yeah.
You want, but anyway, so I'm aware that we're obviously
burning up time.
The thing is, this is supposed to be a long form thing, but I know I'm conscious of the fact that there's a bunch of stuff that we need to get to. So I guess we'll try and almost speed run this bit a little bit. So so we get the Kickstarter money. Over the moon celebration, everything like that. I can now do it. And actually, when we got to the end of it, the only thing I was really thinking about was the animations.
Yeah.
Because that's the biggest. Just knowing how long it takes, and as I said, if it's going to take 7 years for one person, seeing that money, and knowing that money's going into the account, all I can think about is the animations are done. The animations are fucking done. And this there's nothing stopping, because once the animations are done, there's nothing stopping the especially now with the fucking Melon Bread stuff, there's nothing stopping this from being a perfect recreation. There's no barriers.
Just to step back, I was saying, when your money came in and you saw that number, did you feel a lot of pressure from the community and yourself, like, oh, now I really have to deliver on this? Was it worse or better in a way?
To be honest, no. I didn't feel. I felt like because we don't put out the Kickstarter trailer, people can see what can be done.
Yeah.
And again, my mind's just focused on the animations, and I'm like, eventually we'll get to a point where I can say to everyone, look, that money translated into this. Here's all the fucking animations, and of course, in my mind at that time, it's.
So what he's talking about right now is wanting to be able to put out exactly what they've put out for all of us now. Again, I can leave a link to this video for all the animations directly as well on the Ultra Pro Wrestling page. I'll just show you right here. It is on the Ultra Pro Wrestling page. It's got over 3,000 views. They put this up for the general public 5 days ago. They actually put this up several months ago on the Patreon. And so for Patreon and Kickstarter subscribers, we got to look at this. But I wasn't able to actually show it to you guys until after a certain amount of time. I believe pretty much till they put it out. So now that they've put it out, I've been waiting to do this follow-up video for you guys so that I could have these move animations, because I had so many people asking me about them. And I had seen the parts of the video. I didn't watch all 3 hours before. But just watching it now as I'm re-listening to the dev insight from Sam and Gimbles talking, it's amazing to see we're only at animation 782. There's thousands of moves animated, and this is what they wanted to show you. This is what the development money, what the Kickstarter money has gone towards. This is what they've created. They've created all these from scratch over the past however long. It takes a long time to create these moves, and whatever you think of them, whether they look perfect or not, or if they need polishing, this is just literally every move from No Mercy. So they have the Aki foundation now. Now they have to just create moves that aren't in the Aki games, which I've given them plenty of suggestions for, but there's lots of moves beyond this that they want to add to the game that weren't in the No Mercy games. Like, for instance, No Mercy came out so long ago that it was before Brock Lesnar, so there was no F5 animation back then. And I don't believe there was a Styles Clash animation in these games. There might have been, because Crash Holly was in it, but I don't think he had the crash landing as his finisher, the proper Styles Clash. I can't quite remember, but I know the F5 was not in those games. There was no RVD. There was no proper 5-star Frog Splash. There was a Frog Splash, but there was no RVD 5-star Frog. You know what I mean? Just things like that. There was no Van Daminators, of course, no Van Terminators. Things I know that they're wanting to put into this game. So I know they're going to be animating a lot of moves beyond this, but this is great as a base. No Mercy itself as a remaster, basically, as a base, and then working from there is, I think, a phenomenal place to start. And I'm very impressed seeing what they've been able to create so far.
But it's going to be not just the animations, it's going to be gameplay and everything else. But we'll get to that. So,
sorry, and spoiler alert, if you weren't aware, they are coming out within the next couple of weeks, or next few weeks here. with the gameplay reveal. So we are going to be getting something new coming. This is me putting this out there for you guys to help tide you guys over. For those who weren't familiar, weren't aware that we have 3 hours of just every move in the game being animated, right? At least we have something. You can see what the animations are going to look like in game, right? Obviously, you don't have two people doing them to each other, but this is literally like every move in the game. So I think it's pretty cool that they put this kind of stuff out there for us. This kind of developer stuff, I love it. So I eat this stuff up.
So not oddly enough, everyone around me did. Lots of people in my family. My mum. Sorry if that's dicky. I'm not trying to be that. I'm just trying to be funny. But yeah, my mum was. She was very nervous. She was like, but like, I think just because she imagined if that was her and all the pressure and all the expectation.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's like, do you feel pressure? Like if someone asks you to do a backflip, right? And you can't do a backflip, then you're fucked. You're going to stand up there and be like, oh shit, what if this goes wrong?
Yeah.
But if you can do a backflip, like it's fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Like you just, why would there be any pressure?
Sure.
And it's the same with this. Like, things take a long time, but there's nothing other than, I guess, when it came to the gameplay, reverse engineer, which I was naive about. But because I was naive about it, there wasn't a lack of confidence there. I was like, okay, it'll be tough, but I'll figure it out. I'll figure everything out. I'll work it out. I'll do it. And that's obviously made all the fucking easier now, thanks to Melon Bread. But there was nothing that was giving me any sort of lack of confidence. The biggest struggle to
big shout outs to Melon Bread.
This game is time management and the sheer number of animations and that really, and sorry to keep going on about it, but that is it. The animation process of recreating those things is so fucking difficult and takes so much time that this was basically going to become an abandoned project if the Kickstarter failed. I would not have had any. Time is one thing, but like I 7 years. To just to, and that's not even including the universal animations. Yeah. Which I was
going to say in total, how many was?
So what he's talking about right now is how long it would have taken him if it was just him by himself working 8 hours a day on just these animations alone, initially with the original way he was doing it. If it was just him alone, it would have taken him well over 7 years just to animate this here. So everything we have now, this would have taken him, if it was by himself, well over 7 years to do. Just what we already have, what's in this 3 hour long video of animations. This is also several thousand more animations that he thought was actually initially in the game.
That did we say?
So I don't think I've said actually yet how many animations, because that's what I was going to say. It's like now I know that there's am I right in saying this, more than double the number of moves?
Yeah, well,
I thought there'd be like 50 universal animations. So the thing that, and we kind of worked this out recently, but so I should maybe come on to that in a little second.
Sure.
Because the other part of this process is we got the Kickstarter money. Frank became our lead animator, and basically Frank is a gem. Like Frank was able to produce the animations at the same rate as I was. But every other person that we hired, and there was quite a few, either couldn't do it. Some of them, I guess, maybe weren't wrestling fans. So like the motivation. Honestly, like doing these animations, if you're a wrestling fan, you get that dopamine of like once you see that the Fameasser, you can sit back and go, oh, that looks gorgeous. Like you can be excited about it, you can be happy about it. If you're not a wrestling fan, and you're just like, you just have no motivation to fucking sit, because producing those animations is excruciating.
There was an animation that you and Frank had worked together on. I don't know if we can cut it in here if you're wanting to show it off. That the whole team was incredibly excited about when they saw that, because it was the first time a move, I'm not sure if it had been in the original, I don't think it was, and it felt like an AKI move done the AKI way, and it was like everybody's minds were blown at that point, like, oh, this isn't just what we've got, but we can keep.
Is it what one is it? Because there was a few, but
I was going to say the RVD doing the.
Okay, so I gotta pause this for a second so I can show this to you guys, because this to me, they showed me this early, like before anyone else got to see this. They let me, because they know I'm a huge RVD mark. So this was them. This is again one of their first moves that isn't an Aki move. It wasn't in any No Mercy game, but they literally took the animation straight from, and they showed me the reference move they had RVD doing, and like it animated so well. So I'll just show you guys here.
The drop kick off the top rope.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that was so again, like,
wasn't much to see right then and there, but like seriously, when they lined it up and everything, obviously I don't think they could show the RVD footage in their video or whatever, but like they showed me the Van Terminator that they used as reference, and it was like perfect, like the traveling and everything of the drop kick. So obviously you don't have the guy on the other side with the chair in his face, but you put that in after. But just the fact of seeing them animating a move that I've wanted to see in a wrestling game for so long, like the Van Terminator, because all we've ever had is the coast to coast, right? We never had a proper Van Terminator with the chair in the guy's face and stuff. So again, super excited just to know that that's coming into the game.
Creating new moves is so much easier once the original moves have been recreated, because then you have a basis. When it comes to like the springboard up to the top rope, although it is different from there isn't really a springboard like that, but yeah, once you've got the base animations down, you can use them as the basis for new animations. So and because that's the other thing as well, is we don't want to just create the Van Daminator, the Van Terminator, all this stuff. And of course people will ask, like, why are you making RVD's moves, you know? Are they telling us that they've got no, we don't have RVD, unfortunately. He obviously, people know he's my favorite wrestler. He's the one that I want in the game the most.
That breaks my heart, chat, that RVD is not one of the DLCs. There's clearly reasons for it. It's his favorite wrestler as mine as well. So this is another reason why Sam, right off the bat, I like fell in love with this project and everything else. Like on top of everything else, this is long after I already was a Kickstarter supporter. This isn't why I supported them, but knowing that he's such a huge RVD fan and such an RVD mark, and seeing early footage before the Kickstarter or anything, just stuff he was messing around with on his own, and recreating, like he had like a Taz and an RVD and like an ECW Anarchy Rules kind of arena. I was like, I could already tell. I was like, this guy's got the vision that I'm gonna like, and it's finally gonna be someone who properly does justice and gets us a Van Terminator, a proper 5-star Frog Splash, proper Van Daminator, like everything into the game. So I can't wait. But it is very sad that RVD is not going to be in the game. The creation suite though is going to be amazing, and it's, you know what I mean. You'll be able to find a perfect RVD within a day or two. You know what I mean. So it's not a big concern. I'm just happy that the moveset and stuff will be there. So I'm really excited for that. But yeah, that's obviously, like, they would have reached out to RVD, and it would have been more an issue of like, just with their DLC structure, the way it works, it probably just didn't jive with, or because of contractual obligations, obviously, with either AEW or WWE. I'm assuming now at this point, a WWE deal he's just not able to sign, right? So multitude of reasons. If there's a legend that you love that isn't part of their amazing DLC roster, just know that they probably did their best and probably reached out to them. And a lot of these people will be under some sort of Legends deal with WWE or some sort of deal with AEW that prevents them from signing with other companies. Or there's just certain people that might say, hey, I have an upfront fee. I get paid, $50K or whatever, and then this residual is on top or whatever. And obviously, Ultra Pro Wrestling doesn't have a budget to do stuff like that, right? So, but yeah, if anybody's wondering why there's certain legends might not be in the game, just trust me, they're going to do their best to get everybody that they possibly can into this game. I'm just happy it doesn't take away from the actual Kickstarter budget and the budget they have to build this game, as they do like a 50-50 split. So whatever they'll let say they have Raven in the game, and then if you want, and Raven decides he wants his character to cost $1, for instance. Well, he would get 50 cents of every purchase of his character then, and then UPW would get 50% for the development costs and everything. So it'd just be a 50-50 split. So if a wrestler decides they want their character to cost $10. Then it'll be $5 would go to that wrestler and $5 would go to UPW. And that's how the DLC split works for all the various characters. So if you're wondering if there's like at launch and stuff with the different DLC as they come out, if there's a variance in price for different wrestlers, just know that that's not, Ultra Pro Wrestling isn't setting the prices on these individual DLC characters. It's actually leaving it up to either the legend, like the wrestler, or their estate for pricing. So there will be a variance in different wrestlers' costs, I'm sure, when we see when this game launches. But either way, sad to hear that RVD is not going to be or hasn't been signed yet, but who knows? Fingers crossed in the future, we'll see. But I'm pretty sure he's under some sort of Legends deal with WWE at the moment. So I don't foresee him coming to the game, but that's what the Creation Suite's for, so I'm totally fine with that. And sorry, they're just letting it.
So anyway, well, I guess where we were was,
I'm not sure if it
word like that.
Sorry, let me just try and get to where we were.
But
they just had a little issue with their recording at that point from where we were. Yeah. So this is what happened. One of their cameras gave up. So if they retouch on some of the points that they were talking about, part of the recording pooped the bed, unfortunately.
So anyway, well, I guess where we were was we at this stage we'd got the Kickstarter funding. We had Frank working nearly full time. Not initially, I think, because he still had another job at the time, so he wasn't on board full time right away. But eventually he did come on, and during that time, we were basically trying to find other people to do that same job. But it was a little harder than what I initially thought it would be. I actually have a friend who told me that hiring people is harder than programming. And he works for Rockstar, so he knows what he's talking about. That sounds like such a name drop. Like, I've got a friend that works for Rockstar. No, but that's what he said, and then I was like, I kind of was like, yeah, I guess so. Like, but actually having to do it, I was like, oh yeah, it is. It's fucking finding the right person for the job is. It's just, again, not easy. Like, I thought, if you've got the money, well, you can just hire people and it's fine. I kind of like overlooked just that whole process and how difficult it was. Because the thing is, we found people that could do it, but as I said, motivation was a factor. Skill was a factor. I think whether or not you enjoyed wrestling and enjoyed seeing the moves was a factor. So basically, a lot of the people that we hired just weren't able to produce them in the same way that I could or the same way that Frank could. And I also just assumed that everyone would be able to do it at that pace. Because some people were able to produce it in terms of the quality and get the animations looking right, but the speed, which in fact we had one animator that took a submission hold which had a loop on it. It was like a Boston Crab or something, so it had this loop to the animation. And rather than just do the animation for the first stage of the loop, they did the animation like sculpted, put the positions in for every fucking stage of, rather than copying the bit that we've got, which is just exactly the same. So obviously that's just, and I'm not blaming them, like, you know, that's obviously my fault for not going through it thoroughly enough. But yeah, just you kind of need that intuitiveness to know that that's not how it should be done. Whereas like Frank would have that. Frank would understand that, you know, fundamentally how the animation process pipeline should all kind of come together and everything. So
so let's all take a moment to let's hear it for Frank, because clearly he was the number one asset as far as getting these animations done smoothly and quickly, outside of Sam having to do them all himself. So obviously and hopefully they were able to find more people with the passion and skill set of Frank, but we'll continue to listen and find out.
So yeah, we were getting animations done, but because hiring people was a bit of a challenge, and anytime we hired the wrong, because we've got the money now to hire a bunch of people, but anytime we hired the wrong person, where the money just was the work rate just wasn't matching up with Frank, it felt like we were burning money. It felt like we were wasting money. So I became quite hesitant to, you know, I definitely didn't want to squander this money. Like, this is such a gift that it has to be used right and everything. So, I was very cautious and careful of how it was spent. But that kind of resulted in mostly just Frank being the main animator for a bulk of the time. And it started getting to the point where, because Frank's doing as much as he can, and I can't do animations non-stop. I need to work on gameplay, and not just gameplay. There's all these other systems like the Creator Wrestler system, Create an Event system, just even the main menu system where like you need everything to flow together. You need to be able to go into the options menu and adjust the sound. If you want to do like the mapping of the controller, like these are all things that are outside of like core gameplay, but they're all things that need done. And then there's graphics, the actual menu graphics and all this stuff. And we've had a lot of help with graphics from other people at times. The main logo was actually done by a guy called Lance. So this wasn't done by me, this was done by him. He took my original version of it and made it this, and it's amazing. But a lot of the graphics, that would be me, like just having to sit and go through Photoshop and spend a lot of time, and again, more time I'm not spending on gameplay. So anyway, when it comes to the animations, we actually printed off this big chart of, we've got it on the wall here, and I'm sure Stephen will cut in some B-roll.
I want to show you that B-roll though, of this is what they had
of this big chart. But this was every single move that was in No Mercy. If you go through the Creator Wrestler, these are all the...
Yeah, there's a lot. As you can see, I mean, we have the 3 hours of footage here. Just so you can see, we're already at move animation 1198. So you can see there was a lot of work to do.
Moves all listed out. We had marks for like certain stages of the development of the animation, and the goal was just to get through that list and do all the animations. At first, we didn't really have too much of a direction, and it was just like, whatever animation you feel like doing, just do that. But then as time went on and we couldn't find the right people, or we could find people, but again, we didn't want to waste money. If we had more money, if we had double the budget, probably wouldn't have cared as much. But I felt it important to be really careful with how the money was being spent.
Which to me, as a Kickstarter supporter that was on like the championship supporter, like the highest tier they had, like I'm going to be getting like a literal UPW replica title in the mail at some point. I am happy to hear that they were very, frugal with money, and because when you hear these big budget games, like hearing that AEW Fight Forever cost 10 million, or at least 10 million if it was in the 8 figures, like 8 figures plus, so it could have been 10 million, 11 million, 20 million. But at least $10 million pumped into that game reportedly. If that's true, which I believe it is, that's like, look at the game we got. There was no creator wrestler. Like, the creation suit was just atrocious. And there was nothing to do once you played Road to Elite a handful of times. After you did that, that was it. So, yeah, I'm glad to hear that he was very frugal, knowing that their budget, like the Kickstarter raised less than $100,000. I think it was closer to, 50? I think they hit about 50,000. Correct me in the comments. I don't remember the exact figure now, but it was far less than 100,000. I believe it was less than 80,000. I think it was probably around. I think it was around the $50,000 mark. Between 40 and 60 is what I seem to remember. I know it was over 40, and I don't think it was over 60. So I think it was in that 40 to 60 range from the Kickstarter. Obviously, they have their Patreon, which is ongoing. You can continue to support them through the Patreon. Again, link to the Patreon is in the description for you guys down below. If you're interested in supporting the game directly, continuing to do so. But as far as the Kickstarter, yeah, they had less than $100,000 to work with. Versus if you look at like Fight Forever as a reference, like several $1 million either way, like 100 times bigger budget, maybe even 1,000 times potentially bigger budget. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like and a much bigger team, obviously, than Sam and the 3 or 4 other people he had working with him. So again, Hyperfocus Games, super small knit team, close team working on this game. So very small development team, but I think that's also sometimes a good thing because there's less cooks in the kitchen getting in the way. Like, this is Sam Vallely's vision. This is Sam's vision for Ultra Pro Wrestling, right? There's not Kenny Omega and Cody Rhodes and and the Young Bucks and like 13 other people giving the ideas of what they want to see in the game and mini games and all this other crap. Like, we're getting the stuff that Sam, a diehard, Aki Engine wrestling game fan and wrestling fan, the video game he wants, and it being the successor to the No Mercy games or the Aki games, right? So I think it's really cool, and seeing these animations of some of these moves, it's absolutely awesome. It's hilarious seeing the guy taking the moves, animations, and their arms contorting and stuff like that. Love seeing that. This is great stuff. And I'm like, this to me, I'm thrilled to see this. I can't wait to get this game in my hands. I really can't.
So for a lot of time, it ended up just being Frank having to work on these animations, and I thought, we actually have to now pin this down to basically, if we take two characters that we think are going to be in a demo that we can present, Bill Dollar, Oliver Buckingham, if we basically just go through those.
For reference, this is Bill Dollar right here. This is Blue Collar Bill Dollar.
Moves. And we actually had Hal hand select all the moves that he thinks those guys should do. So we had the big list of, we've got the big list of moves, but now we had the list of all the Buckingham moves and all the Bill Dollar moves, and we thought, let's focus on that. Yeah. And with that directed focus, that everything started getting a bit everything felt like it was way more on track, and I was still missing a few universal animations that would have helped to build out the gameplay, but I had enough universal animations that I felt like it was all going on the right course, and there wasn't any issues. And I think it was around that point we'd sort of laid everything out, and we thought, we actually have enough of a trajectory here to put a release date on a demo. And actually with the money kind of drying up in the way that it was going on and everything, we actually started thinking this was a really good idea if we do a demo, even if it is just two characters, because at least we'll have something that we can put out there. And the Kickstarter obviously did well, so if we put out this demo and we charge for it, we could get more money and then feel way more secure about hiring more people, because the issue wasn't really that we didn't have enough money to hire people. We did, but again, I didn't want to feel like I was burning money, but if we increased the budget and everything like that, I would have felt more comfortable. And then I thought this would be like a loop. So we put out the demo, we get some money in, we use that money to build out the animations, we update the demo, more people buy it, more money comes in, we build out more animations, and it would just sort of perpetuate like that. That was the game plan.
I am so happy that's not what happened. I cannot tell you guys how angry some of the community would have been if they called a 1v1 demo and charged any amount of money for it beyond $2. And even that might be a lot. But like, if they charged even $5 or $10 for that demo, people would rightfully so, rightfully so might not be the right answer, but I feel like a lot of people would have seen the jank and where the game was and thought they don't want to support the game any further. They may have paid for the demo, but they won't necessarily have liked it. It's like a demo for like a 1v1 demo, charging money. I don't know, man. I understand needing more funding for sure. Because again, remember, Fight Forever had several like a multi-million-dollar budget, like $10+ million, and this game has less than $1 million, less than $500,000, less than $250,000, less than $100,000 budget. So I understand the needing of more funding for sure, but I think that would have been a mistake. Honestly, I think it's just delay is the better option, because you're only going to get that first impression once, and that demo is going to be the first impression. And if people get if they think it's weak sauce and all you have is a 1v1, not all the weapons are there, there's no creative wrestler, not its lackluster features and everything, and you've charged for this, I don't know. I think it's going to rub a lot of people the wrong. I think it would have rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. I personally, that's just my thoughts, but I don't think that would have gone over incredibly well. I'm sure they would have got some funding out of it for sure, but I think you would have had a lot of people take one look at that and then maybe never come back to the game when it's at full release. You know what I mean? Like I think Fire Pro Wrestling World released in kind of a beta form. They didn't have, I don't think, the career mode and stuff when the game launched, and it took me years before I came back to the game because I played it and bought it when it was in its beta, and I just, I'm a diehard wrestling game fan, and it took me years before I went back and never touched it again. Not even knowing the updates and the status of keeping up with when the stuff released for it. So I just think, I don't know, man. I think you want as much done in this game as polished as possible before you let people put it in their hands. Honestly, I think that's best case scenario. There's a lot of people out there, I get it in my comments all the time, that people think that the hype train is gone for this game and people don't care anymore. It took too long. It took to this. That's for people who just don't understand development of games and don't understand how long. Like Grand Theft Auto 6 has been in development for what? Over a decade, right? So why don't you go complain to Rockstar that the game's taking too long? Oh, you delayed it again to 2026. Do you know what I mean? Like game development takes a long time and you want it to be right. And for a game like this, it's a niche audience as it is for wrestling games. You need to like really get that that first impression has to, you need to nail it, right? Because again, you might only ever get that one chance. And the demo might be that chance, especially if you're charging for it. I don't know if you're going to get people back. And if you're charging like the full price of the game and they'll eventually get the full game, I don't think that's going to cut it. I think you're going to rub so many people the wrong way. And you just have people never come back. Like if you look at No Man's Sky from when it came out, that was one of the biggest hyped games, indie kind of game when it first came out. And it was very lackluster and didn't have any of the features or nearly the features that were promised for the game, but they again needed more budget and everything. They needed the sales to be able to keep working on the game, and now that game's in such a better state, and many people would say it's one of the greatest games out there, and it's everything they ever promised and more. But I'd say a good 80% of their player base that was there at launch never came back. I went back a couple times only because I wanted to try it with a VR mod and stuff like that, but most people never went back to that game. And I think that for most games, that'll be the case. Is if they feel burned at first try, they're not going to come back to the game, regardless of how much you've developed it over time. So I think you really need to hit the ground running, and that's what I've always told them. So I'm glad that they didn't go with that option, personally.
And so this is where we started putting together the Riot demo trailer and all the stuff, and we're like, okay, by Q3 2024, we should definitely have all this wrapped up by then.
Yeah. And there are a lot of people still asking me about that. It's like, yeah, that got pushed back, and no, we still don't have a demo. But I think it's for the better because look at what you see on screen now. They had the time to animate all of the moves from No Mercy. Like, that was the biggest thing, right? That is the biggest thing, and now that is done. Now everything else can be focused on. More new moves and everything, but this was the base. This is the base they needed to get out of the way, what you're seeing on screen, and that's out of the way now. So the biggest hurdle for this game, the stuff that was going to take the longest thing to develop is now out of the way. Do you know what I mean?
Ended up not happening. Ended up, the animations, it didn't really, the timeline, and I'm not putting all the blame on, it wasn't just the animations. There was other things going on. Actually, one of the big things is that we'd set aside some money for the UI because it was obviously we want the whole menu and everything. We want it all to be presentable and look good. And so we had a company produce some graphics that we thought was awesome, that we really liked, and we thought these graphics, this is what's needed for the menu system. Now, I wonder if I should actually show what they presented us. I don't want to come across like I'm shitting on them, but I want people to see what I was kind of presented with, because we had these awesome graphics. I had a sort of placeholder.
Okay, so I'll show you for this as well with what he's talking about here. So these are not the kinds of graphics he wanted. I believe this is the placeholder that they had shown them, or this is what the product that they were given.
In my opinion, very poor graphics that I had done. That was, as I say, placeholder. This is what the menu will be. And And my expectation was that they would understand what elements were required on each different page of the menu. They would take that information and they would come back with a menu that would be something like, you know, a AAA game. Like, I guess, what games are some, like Fortnite or like, what's the Marvel one, Rivals?
Yeah.
And Marvel
That's
Rivals,
what I
love
was
that game.
expecting. Which maybe that's unfair of me to expect that from, you know, small team and whatever, I guess. But that was my, because of the graphics that they'd produced before, that was what I was expecting. And instead we got, well, I'll probably end up showing it, but if I don't show it, I'll just explain it.
Okay, so what we saw originally, what they showed on screen, that was what Sam had developed himself. This is what they came back at him with. This.
It was basically they'd taken the placeholder thing that I'd done and just kind of reskinned it and then reskinned it in a way where it was just, it looked
worse.
terrible.
Brother, what's that?
It was like cartoony. It looked like a children's TV show game, like the game version of a kids TV show or something, with all these cartoon, like, and I know that the cartoon graphics and all that stuff, they were probably just placeholders, I guess, but this was devastating because we had set aside the time for the animation. And the money for sorry, not the animation, the UI, and the money for developing the UI, we'd put that all aside and put it into the hands of a third party that we were confident they were going to deliver. And then when they didn't, and it wasn't just a case of they didn't deliver, it was a case of a conversation is not going to fix this. This is now something that we need to step back and reevaluate, and we either need to find someone else, which is going to take time and, you know, putting more money in developing test screens and putting our trust in them when we could easily just be let down again. Or we have to do it ourselves. And if we have to do it ourselves, that's fine. I didn't put a lot of effort into the placeholder graphics. If I was to put effort in and had the time, I'm convinced that I could make pretty fucking good graphics for the UI. I just don't have the time. So that's why we were putting money towards getting someone else to do it, especially people that we thought that's what they do, so it'd be a piece of cake for them. But knowing that now we're not going to be able to have the UI ready for a demo, and then you had the problem with the animations as well, where due to reasons I'm not going to get into here, like there was some delays, and it got to the point where I actually had to step away from gameplay in order to do some animation work, and I could see just the rate of the animations it just wasn't developing at the speed that I thought it was initially going to develop at, and again I'm having to take time away from the gameplay, which cuts into that. So just so many things were happening where it was just delay after delay, and so we ended up in a situation where the writing was on the wall that we are not going to be able to release a demo when we said that we would. So what do we do? And of course, I just said, well, fuck it. I have to be honest about it. I have to go out and tell everyone. So I made a video. Hopefully people saw that video. I know a lot of people didn't, because we still get questions about where's the demo? When's the demo coming out? Wasn't the demo supposed to be out?
I mean, I put out that same video, like I showed people on my channel and covered that when that happened, and I still get those same questions as well. So I understand that for sure.
And that's obviously that's what happens when you put out one bit of information. And this actually goes to something that we'll discuss later, about just because you put something out, you can then do a correction or an upgrade. Doesn't mean those people are going to come back to acknowledge it. So I put out this kind of thing saying, sorry, not going to be able to deliver on this demo. The people that did see that video, if I was to watch it back now, like I look fucking distraught in this video.
I was going to say, I mean, I know speaking to you at the time though, how difficult a decision and video that was to make, to speak to people, because you felt very, very responsible for not meeting those targets.
Well, yeah.
But you know, you'd set.
Look, I don't mind. I don't mind taking all the time in the world to make this game. I don't mind sitting down, doing the work, day after day. I'll do that. But telling people that I'm going to do something by a certain date and then not being able to deliver on it is fucking heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Telling people, give me some money and I'll produce this game within a certain window, and then not being able to deliver on it is heartbreaking. So, I mean, you know, the thing is, I can take comfort in the fact that anytime that there's been a problem, anytime there's been a delay, I've always just come out and said it and made. I haven't tried to pull the wool over anyone's eyes or even like make excuses or, you know. And if anything sounds like I'm making an excuse, I'm trying to be honest. I'm trying to outline everything that happened in the way that it happened, as best as I can remember. So, but yeah, it's.
And again, we need. Well, I mean, you guys can feel however you want, but I very much appreciate the fact that they came out and gave us this developer insight, this long, you know, explanation of where the game came from, how it came to be, why there's delays, why X, Y, and Z has happened throughout production, what it is, because every game goes through production hell and production woes and everything else, and you never really hear about it until like long after the fact. Like, I was a big fan of the Destiny franchise, Destiny 1 and Destiny 2, and like hearing the production hell they went through with their stories and everything else, and now you're still hearing to this day all the crazy stuff that's going on with Marathon and plagiarism and stealing art and everything else that's going on there. It's horrible for, you know, the hard developers that worked on the games at Bungie. You know, people who were developing like Destiny 1 and 2, hearing that the story had to get rewritten a couple months before release because they had lost the whatever it was, like just things like that. So like all games go through a lot of these issues, but you never really hear about them, especially before a game's released. So I thought it was really bold of Sam and the team to be able to, you know, put this out for us and let us see. And I'm kind of laughing because of where I paused the video. It's actually quite hilarious. But yeah, I just big thanks to Sam and Gimbles and everybody over at Hyperfocus Games, Lucha and the crew, and everybody else working so hard on this game. Again, links to all their socials will be in the description. Steven, everybody on the team, got nothing but love for Hal Haney and everybody who's had a part in making this game, Frank and everybody. I love all the guys down there, all the great work they're doing, all the hard work. I mean, just looking at these animations, we're at 1,792 so far, and this isn't even halfway done for this, just the animation. So you can imagine how long it took to just painstakingly recreate all these. But now that they're done, being able to move and make new ones and everything coming forward is going to be so much faster, right? Now that they've got their systems optimized and everything else. So I very much have a lot of confidence for where this game will be, not just at release, but, you know, the years to come after release and all the content that comes out for the game post-launch is what I'm really also excited for as well, right? But let's get back to it.
Shit. It's like, it's shit. Like, you know, I mean, no one wants this game out more than I do, and no one wants you guys to be able to play it more than I do.
Believe that?
So yeah, my worst fear is like people are speculating that. Well, one, there might be people that speculate like we just took money from the Kickstarter and fucked off, and you know that was it. Which that's just,
you can see on screen that's not the case.
People can see that we're if you were to take the money from the Kickstarter and go away, why on earth why do I still have a Twitter account? Why would I not have deleted that account? Why would I not have tried to like wipe the internet of any reference to Ox Pro Wrestling, or do you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't fucking make sense.
Why would you be making this video?
Yeah, but even you, who we didn't know each other until this was a thing.
No.
But I still get comments I hear it all the time, like, oh, this game's never coming out and blah blah blah. And I mean, this is why I want you guys to see, like, on the screen Look at all the moves that have been animated and everything. I mean, they could release a game right now that would be not fully polished and finished and everything, and just have the game out there and be like, there you go. But I'm happy that they're taking the time and going beyond just having, like, you know, all these cool moves animated and everything. So we have, you know, kind of a No Mercy 2.0, that they're really polishing it and taking this baby, because now they also have the Aki license, right? So they want to do this game justice. This is officially the Aki successor. And we'll have Aki Man, however you consider it. I always considered it Aki, but Aki Man will be in the game, and that is very exciting.
Same with Hal, same with Lucha, same with every single person on the team, with the exception of Stephen and Frank. I didn't know until the Kickstarter had come in. Hal, I think I'd spoke to once or twice in the week before the Kickstarter was launched. Everyone else I met after the Kickstarter. And of course, like, everyone on the staff is like in the staff Discord, where we all talk to each other every day. We have a staff meeting once a week. If, you know, none of you guys, I've used this argument before. I was talking to someone on Discord, but like, none of you guys have any allegiance to me. And it's not like, we know Sam's been a bit shifty, and, you know, Sam took the money and he's not really doing any work, but it's Sam, you know, he's our friend. Yeah. Like, no, the only reason that you're here is because you want, I've piqued your interest with this game, and you want to see it through and all that stuff. So, like, you know, logically, for anyone to say that, I've done any, or do you get comments saying, like, and I know I shouldn't focus on this because it's like the amount of people that actually comment this type of negative stuff is extremely small. It's like less than 1% of the audience that we have, but it does get to me. Like, you know, you read a comment saying, oh, this is a scam, this is whatever, and you're just like, are you fucking serious? Like, the amount of time that I've spent working on this game, dedicating, I mean, that's time that I could have spent, like, you know, doing stuff with my family, doing like whatever else. Instead, I'm spending my life doing this game, and to read someone saying, like, or if they've made up their mind that it's a scam, fine, whatever, fuck them. But when you get that feeling like they're trying to convince other people, it's annoying.
Based.
It just grates on you, and I know we spoke about this before. Like, it's so dumb to focus on the negatives when there's so many positive comments. But I guess it's a human nature thing. You can't help it. You focus on the negatives.
Oh, I think it's important, like, to state as well that the inverse of that, all the feedback that you did get from the community when you put that video out was really, really heartwarming. Like, it really made a difference. Like, people's response to it, their understanding of the situation, how kind they were about everything, how supportive. The fact that they told you that this, you know, take as long as you need, it was really, really reassuring. And I think that did help at the time. Like,
and any time you focus on the negative ones, you feel like you're dismissing all those positive ones. And so I definitely don't want to be doing that. I definitely appreciate all the positive comments. But I know, I mean, even just filming this, there will be people that post negative shit. Yeah. And I know it's the internet. You can't fucking do anything about it. But as I say, the ones that are posting that stuff, I'm not interested in trying to convince them of how much work we've done and all the rest of it. It's the ones that might be kind of on the fence, thinking, you know, oh well, it's been like nearly 2 years since the Kickstarter, and you've not posted any gameplay footage in a while. Like, so they're sort of starting to get in there, and then if they start reading comments like,
this is why I've got the gameplay for you in the background. This was not out when this video was recorded, like the Dev Insight first came out. So that's why I wanted to show this all to you guys, so you could see literally some of the progress for yourself while listening to what Sam had to say, what Sam and Gimbles had to say.
Like that, it's annoying. But yeah, obviously, there's reasons as to why we've not been able to post anything in a while, and hopefully we'll be able to explain that, you know, throughout the course of this, and it really does. People wouldn't think it, but it really does come back to the animations and the issues, and this is why the focus of this video. If you've been watching this and you think we've said the word animation 100 times, it's because I'm trying to get you guys to understand that the animation side of this is the biggest hurdle to this game being developed. And
as you can see by the thousands of animations we've gone through.
And probably the main reason as to why the demo had to get delayed. So, demo gets delayed. I put out a video. As I said, I can watch that now and go, oh shit! Like I look distraught. I look like, you know, I probably should have done like a second recording where it was a little bit more cheery. But yeah, as I said, I just, you know, trying to be open and honest and let you guys know where I am emotionally and everything.
Which, again, I appreciate so much. A developer, literally. And look, the man of 2,000 holds. We're at 2,001 holds now. But I am so thankful that they've shared all this with us, including the animations, right? Showing the progress. Obviously, not everything's perfectly polished. And, you know, if that's the way it looks when the game comes out, I mean, I'm fine with it. You know, game does not have to be perfect in my estimation. As long as it's fun. It's got a major fun factor, and it has a lot of replayability. Like, that's the biggest thing. So the creation suite, the career mode, those are, and obviously the engine being fun and feeling intuitive, feeling good, like feeling like the old Aki engine and stuff. But if they have that down pat, then it just comes down to replayability. So like the career mode's going to be key in that, and so is the creation suite, and having the community creations being really robust. Because again, there's no creation limit as far as created wrestlers, and I don't know if there's going to be a limit on how many promotions you can create. I wouldn't imagine so, but there's no limit on the amount of wrestlers you can create. You can also, the in-game wrestlers you can completely change, edit them however you want, their moveset, their names, their attires, everything you want. And if you do that, that will actually change them in the career mode as well. So that's one way you can get a lot of replayability out of the career mode. Is the characters in the career mode you can change to anything you want. They can be Dragon Ball characters if that's what you want. They can be like the golden era of wrestling or the attitude era of wrestling. You can have WCW guys, ECW guys, WWF guys, WWE guys, AEW guys, New Japan, Mexico, wherever. Whatever your fandom is, you can have that there. Or you could have like a complete roster of, you know, superheroes or whatever you download from community creations. You know what I mean? So that's going to be where a lot of the replayability is going to be able to come in, is the fact that you can fully edit all the in-game wrestlers, and that will change them in the career mode as well. So stuff like that, I think is super cool. Anyways, let's get back to it.
So put that video out, we delay the demo, and rather than just try and get back to animations, rather than try and focus on what I can do with the gameplay and the current state that it's in without having animations, I actually took nearly a week where I stepped back and I stepped away from developing the things that were being developed. And the reason I did that is because I thought this whole thing with the animations, where it's monotonous and it takes a long time, even though you could find people like Frank, and even though we might be able to get enough animations done to scrape together a 1v1 demo, the way that we've set everything up, there has to be a fucking better way of doing this.
Yeah.
So, took me a week, trial and error, trying ideas. Everything failed, and I felt like I was wasting so much time trying to figure out another way to do this.
Because bear in mind, this is something that a lot of people had been trying to work out in terms of getting moves from those games.
I don't actually know if for 20 years people were trying to do that or not. For all I know, because as I said, like, I was aware of mods, but I wasn't a modder. The only thing I ever did with mods was change some textures here and there.
Yeah.
And I definitely wasn't involved in the community, so I didn't know what they were trying and what they weren't trying. But what I do know is if it had been possible to rip those animations, it would have been done.
Yeah.
People would have done it.
Yeah. Especially
Especially after 20 years. Like they would have figured out a way. Because as well, I'm not the only one that loves those animations.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I can't speak to whether or not there was a concerted effort to try and recreate these animations by anyone else. But I know that no one's ever got to that point. And it's not like I got to that point either. Like as I said, the way that the N64, I don't know if it's just the architecture of the N64, but it's just, to me, it wasn't possible. And to this day, I don't think it's possible. Someone might come along and prove me wrong. And if you do, please tell me. please. But anyway, I had a system in place, and it worked to the degree of we can recreate these animations. But the time it takes to do it is kind of like, all right, you can recreate them. So what? In fact, another thing that came about is,
again, chat, the reason this game has been in development for so long, just look on screen right now at how many animations. And if you're imagining, like, because at the start he was saying, like, you maybe get through like 1-2 animations a day. Maybe a few if it's like some smaller ones, but look at how many thousands we've gone through already. This is why this game's taken as long as it has, as this is just the animations and only No Mercy. Because you have to remember, that had the culmination of, you had WCW versus the World. I don't remember if there was a game before that. But you also had, because I think there was like a New Japan or game that also was on the PlayStation, but I can't remember. But then, so you had, anyways, you had WCW versus the World. You had WCW NWO World Tour on N64. Then you had WCW NWO Revenge and Virtual Pro Wrestling. And then WrestleMania 2000. And Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. And then finally No Mercy. So you had all those games. And each one of those games, they had the base animations from each and every one of those games. And then they just added new animations as each iteration of the game went on and on and on up until No Mercy. So this is like 7 or 8 games worth of animations that were made over time, right? That they're having to recreate, right? So this is several games in one's animations by the time you get to No Mercy. Same way, if you look at WWE 2K25 today, it's not like they're reanimating every move in the game every year. No, they have thousands of moves to work with from what they've had for years and years and years. And then they just constantly add new ones and maybe reanimate some, but just add new ones year after year. So for them, it's not like if you're creating a new wrestling game, like that was one thing with Fight Forever, they're having to create all those animations, right? And if I'm correct, I believe, I don't know if there's less moves, but there might be less moves in Fight Forever than there's going to be in Ultra Pro Wrestling. And again, that game had a multi-million-dollar budget versus less than 100,000. So these guys are, in my mind, miracle workers. I'm very impressed with what they've been able to do. Again, not a game developer myself, but knowing how long they spent on this game, I understand why. Because making a wrestling game isn't an easy feat, especially for a very, very small team. But the fact that they are so passionate and dedicated, that's why I have faith in this game, and I'm very hopeful. So, fingers crossed, this game is going to be amazing. But let's get back to
Retro Randy, who is one of the big modders. I could be wrong, and so I'm sorry if I'm getting the order of events wrong here, or who's responsible for what, because there's a big team of people that are on the, and there's obviously Freeman, there's AKI Club. I feel like I want to list all the names just to give them all credit, but there's a big community of these guys, and they all play their part and everything. But I think it was Retro Randy that's developed this AKI tool. And so the AKI tool, so just to back up again, actually, when it comes to creating animations, because of the way it's done, I'm limited to what I can view within No Mercy based on what animations you see in the Creator Wrestler. So all the moves that you don't see in the Creator Wrestler, the referee moves, you actually have referee animations for start the match, whether he kicked out of a pin, ring the bell if the match is over. There's all these animations that, again, we label them as universal animations. They are not visible within the Creator Wrestler. Climbing the cage, all that stuff. None of that's visible within the Creator Wrestler. But this thing that Retro Randy made, which, again, they've made it for the purpose.
I was really hoping that the elbow pad would come off there for the people's elbow. I was really hoping we were getting the elbow pad coming off. That would have been so cool. Yeah, I hope they're able to implement little things like that, like being able to take down straps or take off elbow pads or bring down like the knee pad for like the boom, like Adam Cole's move and stuff like they had in Fight Forever. Small detail and not something like if it's not in at launch, won't be the end of the world, but would be really cool if they were able to add that at some point.
This is of organizing and going through all the moves and finding out what the.
So this is kind of neat. So I kind of want to show this part. This is, I guess, the Aki Tools thing that they're talking about. Being able to go in to see like specific move animations.
The ideas for each move so that they can then use part of that move to splice together with another move to create a move within the games. Or transfer a move from Virtual Pro Wrestling to No Mercy or to Revenge or whatever it is. So that's the purpose that they've created this tool. And I wasn't aware of it until quite into having created all these reproduction animations, and then I find this tool and I'm like, oh wow, this is, you can view from the same like perspective as the creator wrestler, you can view every single animation, and it actually makes some of the animations that we'd already done, like some of the grapple animations, some of them were quite difficult for us because like if you've only got like a front on and a side on perspective, and there's two wrestlers, they're blocking each other out, so you don't really, there's bits that you don't see. You would end up needing a front on, a side on, another side on, and a back view as well. But this AKI animation tool will let you view them all as individual animations. So like if the guy's doing a suplex, you only see the wrestler that's doing the move, you don't see the wrestler that's taking the move. You'd have to go to the next animation to see the wrestler taking the move. So this, of course, all the...
So this tool must have been incredibly useful to them because that's given them basically what we're seeing here is them recreating that. Like, right? So you're getting the wrestler taking the move or giving the move. That's really cool.
Referee animations, climbing the turnbuckle, the steel cage, the ladders, like every single animation that you can think of that's in No Mercy is there and set up in a way where you can properly view it. Not only that, every single animation that's in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 is in the code for No Mercy, so that's visible as well. So I know they created this for their modern thing, but this animation tool was like gold to me, because this is exactly what I would need, something like this in order to view the referee, all the universal animations. Not only that, but they're all ID'd. They all have an ID next to them. The very first one I think is 2DD9, and the last one is like 437 something. And so when you run that through a calculator and say how many, based on this hex value, how many individual animations are there? I mean, we've probably spoke about this, but like the full total number of animations, the number I found out that excluded duplicates, because there's actually a few duplicates, or there's a few ones you selected that are empty. So removing the duplicates and removing the empty ones, there was 5,647.
Jesus.
5,647 moves to get in No Mercy. That's animations that they had to make. That's 5,600 animations. It's way more than they thought there was going to be, and that would have, if it was Sam by himself animating them by hand, 8 hours a day, it still would have taken him well over 7 years to make this game. So very happy that we have all those moves now animated and done. And they're all here for you to see at any point. Again, link to the animations video will also be in the description for you. Everything you need will always be in the description. But that's crazy. That's a crazy amount of moves. And again, you get to see them all right here. So pretty cool.
That's a lot.
It's, well, if you think about when we worked out there was 1,400 moves,
Yeah.
and I thought the universal animations, now I guess when I was working out the universal animations, I wasn't considering taunts. I said taunts is a whole other, bag of worms. We put that to the side. And I'm just, if you think about a match, you think, it's mostly like the strikes and the moves. How many of these universal animations could there even be? And I had a conversation with Ubat on the Discord, and because he was saying, like, surely you're done with all the universal animations. And this is like when I was figuring it all out, and I said, well, how many do you think there are? And he's like, I don't know, 50. And I'm like, okay, I'll need to go double check, but pretty fucking sure there's more than 50.
Yeah.
And then I discovered this tool and work out that there's, including all the moves and all the strikes and everything, 5,000. So if you take off, just even say 2,000 separate animations that make up all the moves,
Yeah.
like there's still at least 3,000 more animations.
And how long did you initially, like, when you were kind of working it out in your head, did you say it would take to do the initial animations?
Well, we've thought about 7 years. If it was one person. If it was one person doing, it gets kind of funky because, like, you say one person doing a move could be a super kick or it could be a suplex. So it's not an easy calculation to work out. But yeah, we kind of thought, okay, if it takes a couple of days to do a move and there's 1,400 moves, 2,800, and then you just think of that out over 7 years. So if 2,800.
So a couple of days per move, per animation. This game would never come out. It's so nice to see that they're all these are done. It's so nice knowing this.
Separate animations is 7 years.
Yeah.
Then 5,647.
Someone do the maths.
You take your 33 and a 30.
Is that's like about double that. Yeah. 15.47 years. If it was one person doing it.
So 15 and a half years.
15 and a half years if it was one person doing it. Now, like, you look at the AKI games, and obviously they didn't do all those moves for one game.
No.
They did a bunch of moves for.
That's what I just went over, right? It's like a culmination of like 8 games,
right? Virtual Pro Wrestling and World Tour, and then when Revenge came, they had time to.
And they did WrestleMania 2000.
And then WrestleMania 2000, and then Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, No Mercy. So they had time to, even before actually all that, there was the PlayStation game, all the N64 games, something like, is there like 7 years from when they started making those games till No Mercy, something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
It was longer than that, I'm pretty sure. I think it was a little over 7 years. I think it was closer to 9. I could be wrong. Because I don't think World Tour and Revenge were, maybe they were only a year apart, but I just feel like there was more of a gap. But yeah, you could be right. It might have just been 7 years, but either way, that's 7 years of a whole team developing these games, right?
So yeah, and of course they don't have one person working on animation. They'll have, I don't even know, a team of people. Yeah. So exactly. Yeah, when you're considering that I'm one guy, and I need to be doing gameplay and other stuff with the call system and all that. And then we've got Frank, and then we kind of don't really have anyone else because anyone else that we got just wasn't able to work at the rate Frank was working at. So you put all this together, and the best hope that we have of this game delivering on everything that I initially thought that it could deliver on, it's either I rethink the pipeline for the animation,
yeah,
and I improve it, and I improve the basically just optimize it and get the time that it takes to put the hand in the right place, all that stuff. If I can get the time of that down, that's kind of our only option. The other option is, again, we release a demo that we then charge for, which I never felt comfortable about doing anyway, because it's like, how many people actually charge for a demo?
Yeah.
And then we found out as well, Steam actually has a thing where if the game's labelled as a demo, you're not allowed to charge for it. So then we started talking about like,
there you go.
Well, what if we did a free demo with a 1v1?
Yeah.
And we can give people access to the Creator Wrestler and other stuff that they can play around with. But at the same time, we launch an early access that then you have to pay for. And the way we'll sort of incentivize people to to help us out and pay for the early access is we'll give them all the stuff like the creator wrestler, but we'll put in a thing like you can fuck about with it, but you can't save anything. As soon as you try and save something in the creator wrestler, because that's kind of the only difference there would be between the early access and the demo. That we'd like to make the demo for free, because again that serves as an advert and it will pull people towards the early access hopefully. Then if you want to save it, it comes up with a little pop-up message. In order to save this, you must unlock the early access version, head on over here to whatever. So the demo could literally serve as an advert of such. So that was the plan. But then realising the full scope of these universal animations, and just everything sort of came together. And this is where I kind of thought, okay, we've got a few ideas on the table here. I think I might have a way of improving the efficiency of our animation pipeline. Wasn't sure, but I think it's possible. So it took time away. As I say, it took me literally. It just worked out. It was 1 week. It wasn't like I said to myself, I'm going to take a week. I don't know how long it would have taken, but it took a week. And by the end of the week, I fucking did it. I did something I'm not going to disclose, because this system that I've created, I think probably could be used for other things. So I don't want to go too much into it.
Trade secrets, fair enough. That's cool. But glad you found something that helped speed up the process of everything.
But what I've been able to do with this system is change the game, basically.
So you were talking 15 and a half years potentially. How many moves again did we say? 5,000?
Well, not moves. Moves.
Sorry, animations. Sorry.
Yeah. So animations, 5,647.
And 15 years it would take.
Yeah.
So,
if it was one person doing it.
So you got this process to work.
Yeah, I basically managed. It's the same process, but now it's much faster. Like much faster.
How much faster are we talking?
So would it took 15 years? 4 months ago, I started implementing this new system.
Yeah.
And started producing the animations based on this new system. As of I'm trying to think now, 2 weeks ago, we now have all of them. We now have all of them done.
That's incredible. Like,
Which you
that's
get to
mind-blowing.
So
which you get to see on screen right now. These beautiful moves. We're at 2,700 animations we've gone through so far. 2,763.
For 4 months I've been working on this, producing the animations. This is why we've not been able to post any video footage, any gameplay, any stuff, because everything else is kind of taking a break while I focused on getting the animations done. And I want to pause because I do think there will be people that say, oh, you shouldn't have taken the time to do that. You should have spent just more time on gameplay. You should have just done the 1v1.
No. I think the animations, he now has a base. This is the base, right? He has the base he needs for the whole entire game, not just the demo. He has the base for the whole game, and then he can just add everything on top of it. And if he's able to animate at a much faster pace now and get the animation pipelines a lot smoother, and he's able to create new moves very easily with this. So creating Van Daminators, Van Terminators, creating F5s and whatever it is, the Buckshot Lariat or any modern day moves that wouldn't be in these games, should be a lot smoother and faster process now. I'm just curious about things like new grappling positions, because in these old games, like in the Aki games, they didn't have grappling in the ropes, right? Like you had grappling in the turnbuckle, like in the corner, and you had positions like a trio vote position or putting them up on the turnbuckle or whatever. I think you could place them up on the turnbuckle. That one I can't remember. I know you could do trio vote. I don't know if you could place them up on the turnbuckle or if it was all just one animation from when you did a move in like a strong grappler or whatever in the corner. That I can't remember. I actually don't think you could just place them up on the middle rope now that I'm thinking of it. But there was no like rope grapples and stuff where you do your like handspring cutters and stuff like that. So I'm wondering how difficult it'll be to implement new grappling, just like part of the engine, right? Like being able to grapple in the ropes, being able to place people on things, grapple them from there. Maybe, place someone on a barricade and do a move off the barricade. Like I just don't know how complicated it would be to implement systems like that, but I would love to see it. I would love to see a lot of things that we haven't seen in wrestling games before, like grapples off the barricade and stuff like that, like being able to place people on the barricade, run up the barricade, do moves. Things like doing moves off weapons, placing a chair, putting it down so that you can jump off of it and do a triple jump moonsault or jump to the outside, or carry a chair with you to the top rope to do like this Sabu style leg drop with the chair underneath and other moves and stuff like that, or placing chairs or weapons on opponents and being able to do moves onto them like that. So there's a lot of things. I'm just wondering how they'll implement and hope that they do, and they're able to implement it smoothly and it all works out, because those are big things for me. Weapon physics is a huge part of wrestling games that I have not been happy with in a very long time, and how they worked. And No Mercy was by no means perfect either. So I really hope they've improved upon what we had in No Mercy as far as weapon physics, and really expanded upon it. Like being able to run up steps and run up chairs, like I said, to jump to the top rope or to jump at your opponent for like a poetry in motion kind of move, stuff like that.
I understand people want to see the gameplay, the people want to get their hands on the game, understand that. But this was important. And actually, through conversations I've had with people, specifically actually Mr. Dubs, who makes a lot of videos on us, I became convinced that a 1v1 is actually not the way to go. If we put out something that's lackluster or doesn't have the content that people want, there are certain games that people are lucky enough that, or the developers are lucky enough that the fans go back to.
Yeah.
But it's a risk.
Yeah.
If you put out something that first impressions are everything, and that wasn't my opinion when I started this, but after talking to people, and I was then convinced of it. I was then convinced of, yeah, we only get one shot. We want to be the best wrestling video game that there is, and we only get one shot at a first impression.
So again, put your pitchforks away. I understand that you guys may want to get your hand on this game, and that was at the jumping back kick there. That was like the RVD style. I love that. Like the Van Daminator style. Sorry, sidetracked. But yes, I did very much suggest that they don't rush this. And again, the first impression is going to be your one and only first impression. And releasing like that 1v1 demo that's unfinished, unpolished, especially if they're trying to charge for it. I'm glad that's like a thing you can't do on Steam or whatever. But I don't think that would have flew with a lot of people. I think there would have been a lot of people very upset with that. And I want this game to succeed. So the first impression is going to be huge, because you never know if this game is incredible at launch and super fun and amazing, and it could become a cult classic. And all it takes is 1-2 big streamers, big name streamers, pick up the game, they play it, and all of a sudden, if you see like a Penguin Zero, if you see Charlie there, if he's a wrestling fan, right? If he happened to just see the game on Steam through some way, some other streamer playing it or something, tried it out, and all of a sudden loves the game, and then he puts that out to an audience of millions of people. I mean, you never know. Like, Schedule 1 was made by one dude, and that game sold like hotcakes because a bunch of streamers picked it up, and boom, right? So I think it's so important that this game at launch is everything it needs to be. Like, it's really, really important that the first time people get their hands on this game and get to play it, they're left with an impression of, wow, like, this game is so much fun, and I want to come back and play it, right? So I'm glad they listened. I hope it's for the best, but I honestly think it will be.
And if we fuck that up, and if the game fails because we put out an early access, and we might still put out an early access, but if we put out a version that's lackluster or just doesn't hit the mark for people, and they don't ever come back when we have updated it, and it does have all the bells and whistles, and the game is as good as people want it to be, but they've now moved on, they've forgotten about it, there's no community there for online play, it could easily happen, and the game could fail because of that, and all this work would be for nothing. So we took
especially
a chance.
Especially the online community. Like once your player base is gone, online's done, and that could be the death of the game, right?
I took a chance. And I said, okay, I'm taking a break from doing this. I'm going to try and get this thing to work. I got it to work. So anyway, decision was made. Let's try and do this stuff with the animations. Let's get them all done in one go. Let's wrap this side of development up. Unfortunately for Frank, it means that we can now save money on...
Poor Frank.
No, to be honest though, this is another aspect of this. So, and this is why Frank is still needed. So the animations, this process that I've come up with, I can't say too much about it, but what I will say is it's very similar to motion capture. But what that means is, rather than when we used to do, here's the first frame and we'll build that out and we'll make the animation and then we'll just blend between that animation and the next frame of animation, which would be like frame 10 or something like that. Because this system,
Ooh, that was jarring.
Because right, we'll just leave that camera off for now. Because of the way the system's designed.
So that change in audio quality, that's on them, that's not on me, just so you're aware. That was their recording. They've now switched to like the other camera. This interview, I guess, went longer than they had anticipated.
It actually means that we have to do, it's faster so it doesn't matter, but we have to do every single frame. So when you do every single frame, again, like motion capture, it means if there's a frame that's wrong, it's going to require a bit of cleanup. It's not really like, it's not really as simple as like, just delete that frame sometimes as well. Sometimes you need to go in and like delete a whole chunk of frames. And also it means, as people will see, because I'll probably put up some footage just now to explain, that the animations are not in a state of being 100% clean.
Yeah.
So although, I'm sitting here, I'm over the moon, I'm delighted that we have all the animations done. But when I say done, what I mean is they're in a state that would have taken us a fucking long time to get to. Yeah. But the state that they're in means that they do need a little bit of cleanup. So I'll put some footage over and you can see like where a leg will bend.
Okay, so what we're knowing, what we're hearing from this is that these animations are not final. So when you are seeing like arms bend or contort or go through the body or stuff like that, that is stuff they are planning to clean up, which is good to hear. Again, I'm okay with it not being perfect. Obviously, it'd be better if it was, but it's just, I understand when there's so many other things to focus on. If it means, the career mode's a little bit more lengthy and more replayable and has more branching storylines, rather than having to go meticulously into every single animation and clean up this, that, and the other, I'm okay with them. Some of them being maybe a little bit off, but maybe that's just me.
Of where it should.
But I'm sorry. I am saying I'm glad to hear that they are going in and they are going to tweak, and these aren't the final product, because that I wasn't sure about. So little things like the arm, like hand going through the body and stuff like that. I don't know if stuff like that'll fix, because maybe that'll be part of depending on the size of the wrestler, right? So the size of the model and stuff.
Or an arm will twist in a way that it shouldn't. This is just the nature of, like, it's just unavoidable. That's going to happen, but it's fine, because the reality is most of the animations have turned out okay with only minimal cleanup needed. Some of them with the arms bending out of shape, the knees bending out of shape. There's actually some issues whenever you see the hands going up, like if it's a celebration taunt when he puts his hands up, the shoulders are not how they should be, so they need to go in and be corrected. But actually the cleanup process is nothing like what the original process was. So like if we have to get Frank to go in and clean all this stuff up, it's not like what it was before, where it's going to take like a couple of days to do a move. Like over the course of a few days, 2 days he could probably get through like 10 or 20 moves, and get them all cleaned up. It's a much quicker process. But the brilliant thing about this is that now there's nothing preventing me, there's no barriers in the way to building out the rest of the gameplay. And that does mean like steel cage matches, ladder matches, the referee mechanics. The thing that would have prevented me from being able to develop that at certain stages is that you just don't have those animations done, yada yada. So the fact that
see, again, this is why I'm very happy that these animations and stuff are at least done. Obviously, you see like arms glitching and stuff like that. Stuff they'll have to tweak on. That's fine. But knowing that like we might even get like the ladder match at launch or the cage match at launch, stuff like that. That's big. I mean, Fight Forever had a ladder match, didn't have a cage match at launch. A lot of things missing from that game. So I'd be glad to see if we get a lot of match types at launch for this game. Be very excited for that.
That all these animations are done, as in that state. We're now at a place with the development that I didn't think we'd be for, like, you know, as I said, 7 years.
Yeah.
Initially, when we got the Kickstarter money, I thought we could have been here naively within, you know, a couple of years, whatever. And it took a bit of time for me to realise that it wasn't going to be that simple. But back then, I didn't know about the sheer number of universal animations. Hadn't taken that fully into consideration. So yeah, this has all been a massive roller coaster. But in terms of the animations, we're kind of at the end. We're at the end of that bit. And, you know, when people see the uncleaned version of these animations, which, as I say, they're great for me because I can use them to help build out the gameplay and the cleanup's minimal. But when people see them, I hope people can understand why we've not released any gameplay footage. Because if people see footage of these animations and a knee jerks out of position or an elbow does something weird, I mean, am I going to explain away everything that I've just spent the past, you know, couple hours talking about? Am I going to be able to convey that in a comment? You know, and say like, oh yeah, don't worry about that, it's because of this, you know, it's just, and then I have to do that to every individual person who asks about it on every different social media platform. So this is the reason why we've not put out anything. It's not because we don't have stuff to put out. It's because there needs to be the context of what all this stuff is. And hopefully with the video that we're putting together today, that context will be loud and clear. Everyone will understand that, yeah, the reason that one is that you know, I had to take a bit of time away initially, and then the gameplay footage that we could show, there's reasons as to why it's janky. There's also, I should say as well, there's other things that we cannot discuss. There's things that have happened at a company level that led to delays. And we'd love to be able to discuss that, but of course, what else can I say? We can't discuss that. But please trust that there are reasons, and there are good reasons as to why there have been delays. And you know, we might not be able to discuss this thing for a long time. But if in the future we are able to discuss it, I promise you, you will all completely understand.
Well, now they've got me wondering what that's all about. What kind of development woes did they have there? Curious. But regardless, I'm happy things are on track. And the big thing they were planning, that, you know, as far as showing off, is this right here, this 3-hour long, just showing off all the different animations, transitions, the taunts, the moves, just showing everybody the progress, right? And to me, again, we've seen over 3,000. Really, to me, that's awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Anyway, just wanted to kind of get that out there. So this is where we're at. We're at a position where people ask, like, how's development going? We've not seen anything in a while. Okay, I know you've not seen anything in a while. Development is going great. It's going better than ever expected. I think all of us on the team are very excited about everything that's happened, where we are, where it's going. We are completely aware that people want to see more footage. And you know, we talked about doing this as a 2-parter or maybe a 3-parter. This episode was all on animations and explaining that. And actually, although we want to wait and do gameplay in a few weeks, when we do maybe another one of these developer deep dive, we could do one on gameplay, and during that video we'll show off some gameplay that people haven't seen before. But in the meantime, I have actually captured from in-game all the animations that we've done. And now that you have that awareness of, if you see an elbow moving out of place, or you see something that doesn't look right, now you understand that, well, that's just part of this process, and it's not a big deal, it's not something to worry about. Now I would feel comfortable showing off the complete video of all the animations. We're talking all 5,000. I think on the video there's actually there's only 5,200 and something. It's not the full 5,600. But yeah, we have a video, 5,200 and something animations. It's 3 hours long. Okay, so anyone that thinks that we haven't been doing anything with this game or whatever, or that there hasn't been any progress made, we have a 3 hour long video of every single animation reproduced from Virtual Pro Wrestling.
Sorry guys, I didn't realize I had my mic muted those last couple times, but yeah, 3 hours and 10 minutes long. But this is why I waited so long to record this follow-up commentary over the rest of the dev insight for this part 2, was because I wanted to make sure that I could show all the move animations in the background, because I had so many people asking me about them, and I wasn't able to show them off when they were part of the Kickstarter until they were out to the regular public. So now that it's out there, and again, I'll leave a link to the full video if you want to just look through the animations at any point, without just going through this video, you'll be able to do so. But yeah, this is what I was waiting for to do the follow-up to this video, was for this video to be public. And again, it went out, 5 days ago. So there you go, guys. Took a little while to do the follow-up, but we got it, and we've got all those beautiful animations to show off for you.
So. 2, No Mercy, WrestleMania 2000, Revenge. Yeah, we even did animations that we're probably never going to fucking use. But
we've got a very special promotion that's going to be part of UPW DLC in the future, and we found animations that would help us tremendously with some of the issues, which we'll have more on in the future.
Cool.
I'm not saying a word. Yes, yeah. And maybe some people, I reckon some people will probably know what we're talking about there. But yeah, and looking at the animations and thinking of what the AKI developers were going for with certain things, that now we feel like we've got kind of carte blanche to do that, because we've always tried to stick by what the original developers intended, and there are some clues within the animations as to what those things were. One of them I can say is Royal Rumble match mechanics, where you actually can throw the opponent over the top rope, and there's a whole system for dangling on the ropes and getting back in or getting knocked out. A few unfinished animations that let us understand that there was the intention to do things like that.
Oh, that's cool.
So
That's neat that they found in the code that there was like animations for actually making Royal Rumbles go over the top rope, but they never ended up getting there by No Mercy. But that's cool. So they can see that in the code that it was there, so that they were planning on it, so then they can put that stuff in themselves. So that's pretty cool. So hopefully we'll get a proper, over the top rope battle or Royal Rumbles or Battle Royals. So you'll actually have to knock them over the top rope and not just be able to get them through the middle ropes and stuff.
I'm trying to think. I've got one other thing that I kind of wanted to wrap up with, but I'm trying to think if there was anything else to say in between that. Actually, the 3-hour long video of all the animations. Well, we've decided to put that on Patreon. So if you're
already past that part
and want to sit through 3 hours worth of
see, we're past the Patreon early access part, so we now have this available for us to show off to you guys.
Animations.
It's enthralling. It's enthralling stuff.
We'll put it on there. You know, something we were discussing the other day actually in one of the staff calls. That because it's such a grind, it's 3 hours, and I love those animations, but probably not everyone that's a UPW fan loves those animations that much that they're going to sit through 3 hours of nothing but animations. But if you are like that and do want to see them, of course we're going to.
And on that note, if you're one of the crazy heads who's made it through this much of the video, please leave me a comment in the description down below, letting me know you made it, not in the description, sorry, in the comments down below, letting me know you made it this far into the video. Because here, I thought this would be a fun way to go through the developer insight, leave you my feedback, my thoughts on everything, my commentary, along with having all these animations in the background, so you can see the animations, you at least have something other than just no sound with the, just each animation going through one by one. So this is why I was waiting to do this, is because I wanted to be able to have that in the background. That's what was always kind of my thought process there. But there you go. We've already passed the Patreon time for these animations, so now you can all come and enjoy them.
Make them available on the Patreon. Yeah, we've got to shell something, haven't we? But rather than just put it up there with some background music, which might get a bit boring, what we thought, and we've not decided if we're going to do this or not yet. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what the video looks like when it comes out. But an idea that we have is, rather than it just be background music for 3 hours, which I feel sorry for Stephen for, he's going to have to make it not be too repetitive. Either we do that, or we actually just have a 3-hour long staff call with me and you, Stephen, Hal, Lucha, Mike, cool. And Anthony and Elweister.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, and basically it'll be like a watch along. We'll just watch these animations with you, and we'll shoot the shit, and we'll make it fun. So that would be ideal. Recording that might be an issue, so I'm not 100% going to commit to that being a thing. But yeah, obviously.
I don't know if we're getting that now, because we do have this, just I believe, with music. Did it have music? I don't even think we got music with us, to be fair. Yeah, I'm not hearing anything. So I don't even think this has music in the background. It's literally just the animations, just all of them. So at least this way, watching them through this video, you're getting more than just the animations, literally with no sound.
I know people will get mad because we put stuff on the Patreon sometimes, and people are like, can you not just give us everything for free? Well, sorry, we can't. Kickstarter backers, hopefully with this update, you won't get mad, because I'm going to post the link to this 3-hour long video on the Kickstarter as well. And obviously this video that we're making is going out to everyone. So sorry for the little shill there at the end with the Patreon, but again, the more money that we generate, the more we can put it towards development.
Patreon's important. We should say that the Patreon's allowed us to do a lot of extra things with this development and getting to this stage. It has been really, really, really important, because the budget on this game, although it was wonderful to get the Kickstarter money, it's not tremendous. It's not.
Yeah. No, I definitely think people,
like I said, under 50 grand,
underappreciate how much money goes into making games. The reason I don't bring that up is because it's my fault. It's it was me that asked for the 60 grand, so I'm not going to complain about that. Or even if it is not enough money.
So I don't know if 60 was the goal and he didn't quite hit the full 60, for everything, because I know they didn't hit the goal, the stretch goal for the career mode, which we're getting anyways. But I remember in the Kickstarter they didn't quite hit that. So I don't know if they hit 60 or 60 was to hit that goal is what they needed. But again, obviously, links to their Patreon and everything to support the game will be in the link or in the description down below for you.
It's not something that I would ever like to say, because it's like, well, it's me that's fucking put that number out there and asked for that amount. So, you know, if it wasn't enough money, I should have asked for more. So so I've only got myself to blame with that. But, you know, we obviously get a little bit of money on Kickstarter, and that goes a long way. And so, on Patreon, sorry. So, like, that is something that we need to bring up occasionally.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know people don't like to hear that, but that is the reality. We are on a shoestring budget.
Yep.
And especially without putting out any gameplay in recent weeks and months, it's getting harder and harder to ask people to support us in that way. But now, you know, hopefully this video is 3 hours long. Hopefully people see this and they can at least take from it, you know, oh, okay, well, at least there is something.
Yeah,
there is something going on here. For me, it's not just that. For me, it's not just proof of like, look, this is how much work we've done. This is where we've been over the last 4 months. To me, it's like something completely different. To me, it's like this was the biggest hurdle to the game's development, and we fucking smashed it. It's now a thing of the past. It's now something that's ticked off. You know,
that's why I'm happy.
We've got that big poster with all the moves. We might as well take a pen and just go through every single move, you know. So that's where we're at. And if you told me, you know, 6 months ago that right now we would have not just every move, every animation.
Yeah.
You know, that would have been absolutely unbelievable. And that's where we are. And that's all I can think about. That's where the fuck we are right now. So yeah, I'm over the moon. I'm excited.
Awesome.
I do want to say one thing just to push back against any. I can't help it. My mind goes through like the possible criticisms that people might have.
Sam, you got to stop doing that, man. You got to stop. Don't worry. People are, regardless, people don't understand game development. They'll never understand. Regardless if this game takes another 3 years of development or it comes out in 3 months. If the first impression doesn't nail it out of the park, most of those people won't stick around for the updates, you know, where you get the 90s version of the career mode and then the 2000s version. And all these free updates that you put out with tons of new moves, new game modes, new everything for free, people won't even come back to the game to see those. So you really need to hit it out of the park at launch. So again, regardless of how long it takes, you're going to be more successful if the more polished and the better the game is when you release it. If you release an unfinished game like so many AAA studios do now to hit a launch date, I mean, you're doomed to failure, right? So regardless of, I see people asking all the time, oh, well, regardless, I understand it takes time and everything, but can they just give us a window? Can they at least say Q3 2025 or Q3 2026? Or can we get just a rough estimate on the demo or just give us a date? I understand why you're not doing it, because you've already had to push back the date of the original demo by so far, as well as the game. And game development always takes longer than people anticipate, even the developers themselves, right? So I wouldn't just read into the criticisms too much. It's just, you know, it's just people who don't understand and people who are frustrated, and rightfully so. Like, people get frustrated because, you know, they hear a game announced several years ahead of time and then in their mind they get nothing. This is why I'm here to show everybody, like, look what we have. We've watched over 3,400 animations to know that we are getting a proper, you know, reimagining or whatever you want to call it of like No Mercy, a proper spiritual successor in the Aki lineup, and a game that I think could be, I mean, if they're able to hit all the things they want out of the park, they really could make this into one of the greatest, if not the greatest, wrestling game of all time. If they're able to add all the things you want, like, you know, you backstage areas, you're, you know, fighting in the crowd, or fight, you know, on all those mechanics, weapon physics and mechanics, a very expansive career mode with tons of branching paths and replayability. The creation suite, as far as create an arena, create a show, create a title, create a wrestler, your community creations, image uploaders, all the things. All the things need to be there, but those are all things they're aware of and they want to put into this game. So if they're able to hit everything the way they are, and they have that base of that core, fun, hacky engine, and they just expand upon that and add their own flair to it and things after the fact, this could be, what I always wanted Fight Forever to be. You know what I mean? And I think Fight Forever is a great game. I think if they released a Fight Forever 2, I would get it and hope that they expanded on the things that were lacking from Fight Forever 1, like the career mode, like the creation suite, the lack of community creations, things like that, and more match types and stuff like that. I would like to see this game, live up to all that hype that I had for Fight Forever, but I know I'm asking a lot because this is a game on a budget of under $100,000 versus a game that had over a $10 million budget and far less people developing it. So it's asking a lot, but that this game, make or break, regardless of what happens with this game, this will show you what passion, the difference between just passion and people who are just paid to do a job can do. Because the people working on this, at least Sam himself and most of the people on the team, they're very fucking passionate about this game. Very fucking passionate. And I just love the fact that I've had been able to have open dialogues with different members of the team and be able to kind of pick their brains a bit about where they're coming from and their ideas for the game and what they, you know what I mean, and things they want and where they're going. And obviously they can't reveal too much information to me and stuff like that, but the stuff they do tell me, I'm like, I'm so behind this game and the vision behind it. So I really hope they're able to hit their lofty expectations because this game is so optimistic in what they want to accomplish. And as you can see, not everything's perfect, right? But the fact that they've been able to record these thousands of animations, and this is the biggest chunk of, as far as time, just pure time that it takes to create all of this, this is the biggest chunk of the game is now done. So now they can focus on match types, whatever the game mechanics, the career mode, the creation suite, everything else. Stuff that I'm sure they've also already worked on, but these things can get a lot more time and polish and the stuff they need as well. So I'm really happy to see, again, 3,478 moves, and there's still almost an hour to go. Obviously not in this video, but like in just the animations video itself. So very, very impressive.
One of the criticisms might be we're kind of flying too close to the sun with the AKI stuff. We're talking about AKI or AKI. I can't remember what who pronounces it, but I've always called it AKI. But yeah, people might say we're too focused on those particular animations. We should have just created our own animations. Again, that's not where my heart is. My heart is in reproducing and recreating, even with the game engine. The goal is to reproduce and recreate it as accurately as possible as a baseline. Same with the animations. These are all baseline. We will create more. And
good.
And with the gameplay, we will expand on it.
Good.
But of course, people will say, even in the course of this video, the amount of times that we've mentioned AKI, we're going to get a lawsuit, because we're just talking about AKI, and we're perhaps convincing people that we are AKI. Because people will look and they won't know the difference, and especially with the animations being so close. Or if we were ever to promote something and show AKI footage, or if we were to do something like Hyper Focus Games Man, when he's like a character that we've made, but it's very, very similar to AKI Man, people might look at that and question it. And so to anyone that does have a problem with all the AKI references and how much we talk about AKI, you have to understand that to us, that's all we care about. I mean, we like wrestling games, but AKI is at the top of the list of the things that we care about. It's reproducing that engine, because otherwise it's dead. And the fact is, outside of the modern community, those games for the last 25 years have been dead. AKI was dead.
Yes.
Was.
Was dead.
It was dead.
Was.
It was dead. And it's not dead anymore. Because Hyperfocus Games now own the trademarks for AKI, AKI USA, and the logo. And of course we got Hal to draw AKI Man as well. So what does this mean for Hyperfocus Games? Well, I mean, we're not changing our name or anything like that, but it does mean that we can now promote AKI with this game. We now no longer have to say that we are a spiritual successor. We are now the actual successor to those games. Which I'm sure will rub some people the wrong way. I'm sure of it. But this really is our dream, and being able to put the AKI logo anywhere near this game is a dream come true for us.
Absolutely.
So we've decided to do that.
It's incredible news.
And I hope you are all happy with that news. So, yeah.
That's
where we're at.
Yeah.
There's a bombshell for you.
And on that bombshell.
And on that bombshell, we've been filming for fucking 4 hours or something. Oh, okay.
We'll return again, and next time we'll talk about another one of the big topics that we've got, either gameplay and other aspects going into it. But we're hoping that these sit-downs allay any fears, answer a lot of questions, and give you a good insight into how development's going and how the team are thinking about where UPW is right now.
Yeah, and the gameplay part, which I know everyone will be looking forward to the most.
Yeah.
So am I, because what we're going to do is we're going to set up a screen and we're literally going to walk through the gameplay and talk everybody through everything. Don't ask when it's coming out, you know. I actually probably need a break. I probably need like a week off or something. And you know, it'll take us some time to get everything together. But
you might need those 7 years off.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've fucking earned it now, you know. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. This has been part one of the developers deep dive on UPW
and my part too.
Yeah, we'll see you again soon.
See you soon.
Beautiful. So that is, and we will plug their Patreon for them here. So that's the end here. Pro Wrestling. Patreon.com/Ultra Pro Wrestling. Yeah, very exciting stuff. But yeah, I have been waiting for the follow-up. Sorry, we'll get the animations going. We've made it through a big chunk, 3,500 of the move animation. So very cool to see the progress, so you get an idea of where the game is at. I can't wait for them to drop some more news on us. I am going to have a video coming up shortly. I'm not sure if it'll release not too long after this one. Might be the same day. Might be a couple days later, but might be the same day even. As long as I'm actually going to be going through, I've noticed on ultraprowrestling.com, they've updated some of the career mode and some of what it's all about. So I have the base idea. I've got videos on the channel about the career mode, but I'm just going to go over, word for word what they have on the website with you guys, and obviously I'll have some more of these cool animations in the background for you guys as I go through all that, because it sounds actually pretty cool, and it's a little bit different from the original kind of my thought process on like what the career mode was and what we'd heard and everything. So stay tuned to the channel for that video, and if you did make it this far into the video, thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you leave me your feedback in the comments down below. Any questions you may have, you can leave for me in the comments below, as I know quite a bit about this game, if not all there is to know pretty much on this game. And I do have a direct line to the team if needed, if there's anything important I have to ask them. And they usually get back to me in a fairly timely manner. So I think that's super cool. And I mean, most of all, I can't thank the team over at Hyperfocus Games. Sam, Gimbles, Lucha, everybody. Hal, I haven't really had as much a chance to sit down and talk to and interact with, but super cool guy, has absolutely incredible art, did really an amazing job at designing the unique characters in this game. Lucha, just an amazing job as the art director. making, all this stuff happen. 3D modeling and stuff, and like the creating the belts and stuff like that. Steven, their sound guy, does absolutely amazing work. Everybody there. Everybody I've had a chance to talk to and everything. And sometimes I mix up names because sometimes their names are, that they have their real name and then their online name, and I mix people up sometimes. But either way, everybody at the team, I appreciate all of you guys. Thank you for including me in the whole process, and including everybody in the process and sharing all this stuff with us. I think it's super cool that we're getting this kind of insight. Like with Fight Forever, we got a little bit of dev stuff and them, designing character models and a little bit of the moves, and then they just kind of stopped, right? So being able to see this kind of stuff and this kind of development, to me, even in the rough stages of it, I think it's super cool and super neat, and I hope they continue to do so and keep giving us this kind of information, keep being open and honest with us, and giving us, dev insights. And whether some of the stuff's locked behind Patreon, that's fine. I encourage you guys to go check them out. Again, it's patreon.com/ultraprowrestling. Link will be left for you in the description. But I hope you guys do check them out. If you're able to support them, fantastic. I personally cannot wait for this game. Very, very excited for it. But just know, if anything is locked behind Patreon, I do have to wait several weeks before I'm able to cover it, just to give the folks who support them on Patreon a chance to get the first look at everything new, right? So some of the stuff, like these move animations, I've had a chance to take a look at some of them. I didn't sit through the full 3 hours before, but I got a chance to look at them all, months ago, right? Like before they were out, and now they've been out 5 days on their just regular YouTube channel. So now I'm able to actually include them in the videos moving forward. Anything when I need some background footage for Ultra Pro Wrestling, I can use this stuff for you guys and kind of leave where we left off. So far we've gone through almost 3,700 animations. So pretty cool stuff. Anyways, once again, Dubious Ones, I appreciate you all for watching. And until the next one, we'll see if we can get to a flat 3,700 to start it off nice for the next one. So we've got some senton splashes here. Twisting senton splash to Jeff Hardy, Whisper in the Wind. Ooh, we had a random chop in the middle of that. Moonsault misses. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Swantons, beautiful. And boom, 3,700 moves. Beautiful. So I will go to start. For the next video for talking about the career mode, I'll start at 3,700, so it can be kind of like a sequence from Ultra Pro Wrestling videos. Try and keep them like that. Anyways, Dubious Ones, once again, appreciate you all for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one. Deuces.